Hello, ladies, gentlemen, everybody inside and outside of the gender spectrum, and welcome back to Stardom Quest Gold, the best weekly Stardom and Marigold podcast anywhere in the world. I'm as always Alex, and I'm joined by Dylan. Hi, Dylan.
Hello, Alex. Hello, everybody. Um, it's the off season for football, and I am stressing because one of our key players randomly decided to retire at 26,
Oh,
and we are trading one of my favorite wide receivers for a defensive player. I'm like, I don't know why y'all are excited. We're we're cooked. Like I don't know. I'm concerned. But I digress. Plenty of off-season stuff to be nervous about going forward. Yeah, it's been a week. How you doing? How have things been?
um, Chelsea won today,
Hmm.
so that took things up because they lost at the weekend, and it was
Nice.
looking very bad, but they won. So
My
we're on the up.
my mom dragged me to a hair metal cover band uh at a
Hmm.
local venue with my aunt, and that was a fun use of my Saturday night. Um, I also got blocked on Twitter for comparing Aki Asakawa to Mason Rudolph, which that was something.
I feel like you deserved that one.
Yeah, but,
You don't even care.
so did Act. I don't know.
That is insane. You can't say that.
Kidding. Half kidding. Yeah, I don't know why that started popping off this week. I mean, how it's
I
been like
don't know.
12 years, man. I don't know.
The Mayu
Yoshi
movie covered
Yoshiko
it.
hasn't wrestled in 5 years.
Yeah, Yoshiko's basically non-existent. It's I don't know.
Like I don't know
People
what.
are, people are
I-
it's February. The Joshi scene has dived off a cliff. It's March actually now. um,
Yeah.
but post January, the scene just jumped off a cliff. I think people are bored. Seedling hasn't ran recently enough to keep us satiated, so we're all just retreading old discussions. It's great. Um, but yeah, head on over to the 5-startersnetwork.com for all the latest articles and podcasts from the wonderful world of pro wrestling. And head on over to the 5 Star Network YouTube channel, which is where this as well as shows like Actress Stage and No Limit Wrestling all go up. No Limit, as we said last week, had the New Japan Cup preview. Um, how have you guys been going on your predictions so far? Did you
Uh,
have Don Fale beating the Wolf?
we did. We kind of expected it. We were like, obviously, hopefully, Aaron wins, but Don winning would not be a problem. It would be pretty expected. It'd be uh not that big a deal because like Aaron Wolf isn't doing anything until June, so he can just get his win backs on tour, get his wins back on tour. Um, and also I have the I have the feeling that they are concerned about his ability.
Right.
Um, I don't think they want him wrestling an actual match.
Okay.
Because like that was the one big thing about Wolf, and I know nobody really cares, but that was the one thing, big thing about Aaron Wolf is that if he won against Fale, he would get to wrestle Shingo, and that would be an interesting match because that would
Mm,
be a bit more of a litmus test of like where he's at. I don't think they want to litmus test him yet. Um, or not litmus test. I don't think they want to test him yet. You know what I mean? I think they're content having him be the baby face who keeps getting screwed over by House of Torture
mhm.
and then gets his big win back on TV, on national TV at Dominion. So I don't
Okay.
think it's a problem. I think people, the usual suspects, think it's a major problem. Um, but I
People who
like
don't
sh-
watch, they watch the
like
cliche
Shane.
every year.
Also, like even if they aren't concerned about him, they probably just don't want him losing clean. And
Mm.
Shingo's winning the next match regardless. Like that feels obvious. If Don Fale makes a run, then you could have a problem. But I think it seems like Shingo's just gonna beat whoever is put in front of him in the second round. So not wanting Aaron Wolf to lose a clean match to an older but capable wrestler who probably doesn't want to lose to Aaron Wolf because he's a politicker. Like I don't. Don Foley winning was probably just easier in all ways.
Okay, that sounds pretty interesting.
Hmm.
Um, so we'll get on then to what our show is actually about. We're going to start with
Mhm.
Stardom. Stardom on a Corkin this past week for us to review. On the 28th of February, they had 1,601 fans at the venue for a show that is just called Stardom. Um, I think
Wasn't
that's a
like I don't know. I don't where I'm so disconnected from the Japanese Stardom fan base. I don't get it.
I think this is a
Like
big
I love Hina. I would have come out to the show for Hina, so I guess there's that. But like I don't like otherwise. Like it wasn't not a single match on this card. Like well, no, there was Spark Rush, but
yeah. I feel like I see a lot on the online about Taro, and he kind of gets praised for things he hasn't done. You know, I think people are like, "Oh, he made Azumi a star. He made Momo a star." I think
other things happened.
though, no, I don't agree. I think the one person that should be getting praise that he should be getting praise for is Konami, because never in my life did I think Konami would main event a sellout Corkin.
Have
You
this
know what
promotion. Yeah.
I think her beating Kid because Hanan wasn't available ended up being one of the luckiest things they've had because she's kind of been able to join Kamatani as like the second major boss of Stardom right now. I think that's just what their fan base is into.
Hilarious because
You
neither
know?
of them are the leader of their faction.
No, but like you have
That's
BMI, you
fascinating.
have
Yeah.
Konami, and you have Kamatani. It's kind of like the three-headed dragon almost for people to slay. And you know, BMI they draw 1,200, 1,300 consistently. Konami is able to main event this sold out Cork, and we know Kamatani is a draw. Like the hate thing is working for their fan base. I think that's what this show told me. And Konami has kind of been a big beneficiary of kind of Kid dropping to her. And that's one thing that I do think Taro should get praised for is he has made Konami into a legitimate star when other people have tried and failed.
Yeah. No, I mean, do what you can.
Yes.
I I don't love it, but it works. Like I don't know, like they've cultivated a fan base that likes hate,
Yeah.
and a couple other people. And it's like if you don't like hate as much, or the couple other people previously alluded to, there's just not much here. Like that was my thing with this show is that it's like I like mostly everybody on the card, or like I see at least a little bit of upside with most people here. But I was really like shocked at how many people were at this show because it's not like they're like utilizing their wrestlers to do much right now. You know
Mm.
what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
like I guess the opener, but the opener was just the most. They run this on every show. Like that's the I don't know. It was an interesting show because yeah, 16 is kind of crazy. Like that, like it's one thing to be consistently over 1100. Like that's great. That's a impressive mark for Corkins monthly. More than monthly at this point. They do them like twice or three times a month now. That's impressive. That's like really incredible. But to get 1600 on this, I'm just like, yeah. I mean, I guess you gotta attribute it to Konami, but what? Okay, like I don't know, crazy stuff.
Who knew? Pro wrestling is about heels and baby faces that people want to see beat the heels, stuff like that. I don't know.
See, but that's the thing. I can't see any babyface that I like would be like, fuck yeah, beating Konami that she hasn't already beat. I guess they really like Hanan. I guess Hanan's it.
We know they
But
like
same with
Hananda.
Saya. But no, same with Saya. Like I don't see any individual babyface where I'm just like, fuck yeah, that would be cool. That's realistic and like that.
Mm.
Like I don't. Like, that's the problem, right?
I
Like,
think I think
they know how
Konami
to.
is an easier one to dethrone. I do agree on Kamatani though, with Micah kind of
I
going
think
so cold.
Konami's I think Konami's easier because Hanan's like, poised to for her coronation since she fucking big leagued Hazuki. Like,
Yes.
we have you've just been waiting since then,
Yeah.
like, "Oh, within the next year, she'll probably win it," and we're coming up on a year next month.
Hmm.
So, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. It's not like oh, he's built up Hanan. I think Hanan looks worse today than she did a year ago today, by far. Like I think she's much
I don't know.
less.
I think the tag title run did enough for her.
But I don't think I think the tactile run up until now. Like I think the FWC match was. I can't tell you what happened after that. What match happened after that
You are testing my memory at half
exactly?
10, so I'm not. I can't answer.
But point being, I think the FWC match was the last time I was like, "Fuck yeah, Hanan! Like you're a beast." And it's not just because of the politics. Like I just genuinely, she had a bad 5 star. Was she even in the 5 star?
Yes, she was. We
That's
thought
how
she might
forgettable it
win.
was. Right. Yeah, bad 5 star. Like I don't know. Like it just.
Do you like anybody's 5 star though? I feel like you're
Yes,
like
I did. I liked Hina's a lot. That's why I became a
right.
Hina fan. Like before that, I was just like, yeah, Hina's cool. But that was when I was like, oh, Hina's like, she's a beast. Um,
Of
I thought
course.
Azumi had a good one. I thought that a couple other people,
Right.
let's not get into it. I don't want now you're testing my memory. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think that like the babyface side is, I brought this up to Peps actually. Um, AEW and Stardom kind of have a similar problem that
Yeah.
I don't think they're good at making baby faces.
I feel
I
like you
like
can't
currently.
judge that until somebody beats Kamatani. I feel like that's when we'll know.
That's insane. Like that's
Well,
like
but like
that's like saying
okay.
nobody's a star in
Here's
WWE until like, somebody beats Roman or somebody beats the Undertaker streak.
that
It's like
that literally made Cody into like a dude, you know? Like that did make Cody into a dude. Like if Carrara has a great story going into Yokohama and beats Kamatani, there's every chance that she becomes that like top baby face. You know what I mean? Like that's why you have a big heel is so that
I think
whoever goes over them becomes the hero.
I think Cody and Carrara is a good tether. I can see that. I could same sort of gimmick. Um No, I get what you mean. I don't know. I like it, again, we're talking about the nature of the uh just wait and see, and then like they could fuck up a million times, but once they succeed in some way, once something good happens for once, you could be like, "See, there's the payoff." It's like, "Yeah, but like none of this feels, I mean, I think the Tam thing, I think Tam winning the title off Natsuko is a perfect example of like not being good with baby faces. Like I thought that was bad.
That was awesome.
I
Sorry.
thought that sucked. Like and I was like this
Every
is
Tom promo was like peak. Every Tom promo was peak John Cena,
you
peak
don't
Hogan.
speak Japanese. I don't.
I read them. They were awesome.
Okay. Okay. All I'm saying
She was
is
out here
I
cutting anime protagonist shit. Like she was like a sports anime main character being like, "We will rise from the bottom and win the championship." I was like, "Hell yeah." I'm beating my chest.
yeah, all right. Yeah, I just don't think they're good with baby faces in general. Like
Okay.
I'm hesitant.
Well, let's review the show. um, we started with
Also,
hate,
I don't know if you know this. Saikam Tai, only good person in Joshi wrestling, like
apparently.
morally,
Really?
somehow.
Okay. I
Because
didn't know that.
that's she did a out of character interview about how everybody says she's a good human being, and I was like, why would you say that right now? Like, what? Why?
Yeah.
That's not you.
She wrote a book, didn't she? She had a book come out.
Yeah,
Yeah. That was interesting. But yeah,
I'm
we
surprised
started
she
the
could still
show.
write. They're famous.
I imagine it was written more than a month
It
ago,
was. It
you
was.
know?
It was. Let's
This
move on.
yeah. The hate team of Azusa Inaba, Natsuko Tora, Rina, and Raka beat Aya Sakura, Natsupoi, Sori Ano, Sayaka Kurara, and Yuna Mizumori of the Cosmic Angels. I didn't realize this was a 5-on-4 handicap match,
Yeah.
and the team with 4
Do you
won.
see what I mean?
Yes, I do. Um, it kayfabed it, I think, by saying Fukigen was in a good mood, so that
Yes,
she couldn't wrestle,
that is
which I
how they
think is
keep.
pretty funny. But yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean they
Um,
cheated to beat Carrara.
they did, yeah, they did a lot of Carrara getting cheated. She like had the win over Tora until they pulled the referee out. So they kind of continued the Carrara thing with this match, which kind of gave it at least something to it beyond just being a good hate tag. Which
Yeah, I mean, I thought I thought Cosmic Angels were like in good form here in general.
Yeah,
I thought they did well. You could,
Carrara Tour stuff was good. Like I feel like they've
yeah,
wrestled enough to
yeah.
kind of get into a groove.
I mean, yeah. Somebody said on Twitter that like Carrara and Natsuko is one of the more underrated feuds in
I
recent
agree,
memory, and
especially the Carrara defense whenever she wins the red belt.
I
I think
agree. But also they've had some major stinkers, but they've also had some like legitimately great performances against each other.
yeah,
So it's like kind of evened out. It's kind of like a shorter term Saki Kashima versus Mayu Utani. Some of the best matches in Saki's career for sure. Some of the most fun, but also I think the worst match in Mayu's career um, happened between the two of them in a singles match. So it's like, I'm not saying it's that drastic, but you know, there are rivals like that like there's certain Carrara Natsuko matches or tag matches that I would rather never see again. Um, there are a few that I hold in high regard.
okay. We then had Kikyo Furusawa and Maki Ito beating Kyoko Katatsu and Tomoki Inaba and a team of Maika and Xena because EXV is basically still a thing
Yeah,
unofficially. Um, this was a good match. Kyoka pulled out some crazy shit here. I don't know if you saw the one where she like misses the enziguri, rolls through
yeah.
and like catches the knee. That was
She's been
sick.
getting better. She
That
has been
was
getting
sick.
better.
Her and Inaba are a good team.
Hmm.
I think Inaba's good with basically everybody. I know Inaba and Rana praised for a while, but her and Kyoka is pretty strong too. And I like Kikyo in the opposite Maki Ito. I think she kind of gets to play the straight woman a little bit to Ito. Um, it's kind of a good thing for her to learn. I think is kind of that entertainment side because Kikyo is clearly talented and I think she has charisma. But definitely, I think learning the more entertaining side of wrestling will only help her in the future. And I think there's few better people to learn that from than Maki Ito. So I thought this was just like a pretty good undercard tag.
Yeah. What is it? Sekai ni Kawaii who's the second Cuse in the world?
Is that
Kikyo
it?
first.
That's great.
Uh, yeah, because she is the second Cuse in the world. Kind of very Jamie Hader esque.
Okay.
Niban Gaijin. Um, if you remember. Which I hated, by the way. I was like, "Dude, you are so much better than B. Stop calling yourself that."
And now B is better. Who would have thought?
I haven't seen Jamie Hader wrestle in like a year, so I couldn't say yes or yes or no. Um, yeah. Um, where were we? Oh yeah, the tag match. It was whatever.
Okay. It
Yeah, I
takes.
mean, I think Kikyo and Maki works. I mean, I said it
Mhm.
a week ago or 2 weeks ago that I kind of like the idea of this kind of like punk rock girl doing a bunch of idol dances, and this idol girl being like a punk rocker. Like that's like her game. Like they're kind of like the inverse of each other, um, in terms of like where they come from and where they go. Uh, I kind of appreciate that. I think it's fun, and I like Kikyo as a Respect Army member.
Mm.
And yeah, I mean, I thought that like nobody did poorly, but again, this is kind of a match that's just kind of came and went for me, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Our next match was Itsuki Rina Yamashita, and Saki Kashima beating Ane Kanaya, Rian, and Waka Tsukiyama in just under 7 minutes. This is really cute. They had Aoki and Yamashita were like the bodyguards for Kashima, and they like gave her the win on a plate to get to win the match. I thought it was a fun little wrinkle to add to it. This was the best Mi Vida Loca has maybe ever been because they just looked really funny, trying to like look tough as bodyguards with Itsuki Aoki wanting to grin and cheese it. Um, so Suzu is gone, and finally Mi Vida Loca shows some signs of life. It's great.
Yeah,
Uh,
I kind of realized with this match and the Akira Hanako match, I was like, I like Mi Vida Loca, they just suck.
yeah,
You know what I
and we
mean?
need to
Like it's a
blame Suzu.
very
We need to blame
v-
Suzu more.
yeah, I guess so. Like I don't know, like it's a strange dichotomy. Because,
Yes.
like, I like all of the wrestlers in the group. Even Bozilla on her good days, which she hasn't really had many in Stardom, but even her on her good days is fun. She's obviously hurt, so she won't be around for maybe ever in the company. Um, but like, I don't know, like this match did kind of make me realize that it's like, oh yeah, Aoki and Rina are like awesome, two of the best wrestlers
Mm.
on the roster, bar none. So it's like, you know, again, I didn't think this match was like anything crazy because of who they were faced up against. Um, but it was cool. Like it was cool to see Aoki and Rina like do something of like interest or different or anything.
Yeah, I kind of had an idea after this where I think I would like if Mivi the Loca leaned heel and Suzu went into like being a shit talker who would then hide behind her bodyguards kind of thing. I think that would be a solid way to
I don't
redefine the
think that
feud.
works for Suzu though.
I think she could make it work. I feel like she
I
has that
also
kind of
think we
like
have too many
annoying.
fucking heels already. Like I
That
think that's I no, I think that is literally what happened with Mi Vida Loca
they could be more of a like
because they were.
grin, you're in on it heel rather than like.
But I think that was the initial idea, and then they realized, you know what, we just like hate more, so y'all could just kind of fuck off. Like I don't care.
I
I
don't
think
think
that's
so. I
why
just don't
we're
think they
here.
ever had an identity. I think Suzu ever really
That was their
had a
identity.
grasp on what they're
Was
meant to be.
that Suzu was a heel, Bozilla was a heel. The other three liked Bozilla and Suzu enough to be heels along with them.
Kind of. But
Uh,
no, what I'm thinking is more of like she becomes more of a chicken shit and leans harder
I
into
don't
it.
think you can do Suzu as a chicken shit. I don't think that
She
works. I
can.
I
I
think that
totally think she's capable. She's a very talented person. I think I can just picture her putting the most annoying promos ever, putting on the fakest, most annoying voice, and talking shit to everybody, and then being like, "Hey, you master, get in the way, get in the way."
yeah, I mean,
It will work.
I guess you could like make her Mayumi Ozaki chicken shit. Like that's the extent of chicken shittery that I could possibly see Suzu ever doing. Like I just don't think it
I
works
think
for
you
her.
underestimate her versatility. She started her career as a bicycle girl. I think she has more to her than just being the deathmatch lizard queen.
But I don't think that I know and I agree, but I also don't think that like that's a demotion for her ultimately.
I feel
You
like
know,
with how Stardom is, having any sort of strong character is like literally the best thing you could do. Like that is where we're trending.
just being a
This
chicken
would get
shit
her
behind
better.
Itsuki Aoki and Rina Yamashita is not a strong character.
Yes, it is. It's better than what she has now. What is she
She
now?
doesn't show up. Like you can't
I know.
tell me what she
What
is now.
is she? What is Suzu Suzuki? What has Suzu Suzuki been? What was her? What? Why did her and EXV feud?
You know what Suzuki's
They tell
gimmick
me.
is?
Can you explain to me why her and
Me
Michael
in
were
middle
feuding?
school. I did not show up. I was there 4 days a week at most. Like that's what her gimmick is right now.
All right. Okay. We'll
Like I
move
don't
on.
know. I think that the singular thing that I wouldn't want for Suzu is for her to become a chicken shit. Unless the chicken shittery is her dodging dates. Because at least then we have an excuse. Like that would be funny.
Right.
You know? It's like Suzu Suzuki didn't want to show up to work today.
I think there's a comedic
That's what it
aspect to
says
her
here.
hiding behind Akira, like Akira just like looking mean and
That's what I
getting beat
mean.
up.
That sounds
It would be
stupid. I
pretty
can't
fun.
lie.
This is Pro Wrestling 101. She get like Akira gets her ass kicked and like sells for people, and Suzu doesn't have to. And then that you pay off Suzu losing eventually.
Would you
Like
have ever made Julia a chicken shit heel?
no, but Julia was a star. Suzu was not.
Julia was not always a star. They fucking willed it to be that way.
Julia was a star from the moment she won the Cinderella and tore through the entire roster
I
and won
watched
that
those
and
first
looked
6 months.
badass.
Her
And
and
so
Hana, when we watched her and Hana, I would not have said, you know what, Julia, like she doesn't have it. I said
if
that
the
because I didn't
Cinderella
think she had
tournament
it.
didn't win you over, I feel like you just didn't
It
watch
didn't.
it properly. Her Cinderella was awesome.
Her Cinderella kind of
It was
stunk.
it was a
Um,
star making night.
it really
I
wasn't.
was
It
right
was.
because they were gonna build to her and Arisa in like the hottest match they had. So
Yeah, it was. That Cinderella tournament was just kind of mediocre. Besides the point, I think just like you are mischaracterizing one of the more interesting characters if she
how is
was
she an
around
interesting
more.
character?
If
What is
she
her
was around
character?
more,
Tell me exactly right
you know what?
now.
No, I
Why did her
misspoke.
and
No,
Michael
you're right.
feud?
She's not an interesting character. I've actually hated her character for the past
Yeah.
like year
Okay.
and a
Good.
half because the end of the Crazy Star run pissed me off, even though the match was good. Um, yeah, no, I can see it on that point, but I don't think she works as a chicken shit. I just don't like Saya would have worked as a chicken shit. Like half of the heels in this company could have worked as a chicken shit. I don't think Suzu does. It's like saying Konami should become a pure chicken shit, like somebody who hides behind other people. She shouldn't. I don't even like Konami currently, but she shouldn't. Just doesn't.
Okay. All right. Fine. Our next match was India CO, Kira and Tabata beating Amisore, Lady C, and Rani Agami in 10.5 minutes. Kira pinned Lady C with a 450 splash to get the win. Um,
And then she was not put in the Cinderella.
yeah, she's on the CMLL women's show. She's got a tag title match, so
Yeah,
that's why.
that's
But I thought her and Lady C looked good down the stretch. I
good.
told everybody Kira is awesome. I think she was the standout of the match by far. Um, this was basically just to let her show off, like they did a little bit with everybody else, and then said, "Okay, clear the way. Lady C is basing for Kira." I thought that was good. It was a good time.
Yeah, I thought Lacey did tremendous.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that was my main takeaway. I thought her and Kira were
okay.
awesome together. Um, I think that like this was one of those matches where I'm just like, Lady C, especially 6-man tag wrestler Lady C, one of like the most underrated wrestlers in the world.
I'm
Um,
right.
this match wasn't even like that great, but like her part of it was really good. Very Yoshihashi-esque, I would say. I think that's where I'm at with Lady C, where it's
Okay.
like Yoshihashi, you put him with anybody, especially Goto, put him with anybody in a tag match, and he is great. And in singles matches, half the time, very very good. Like just like I think Lady C's kind of in that role where it's like Yoshihashi should be winning matches, but he doesn't. In the same way that Lady C should be winning matches, maybe not like the world title, maybe not like singles
No,
titles, but
she should.
I don't see why
Or
not. Like
champ
what I mean?
ladies.
Like
Yeah.
Lady C and Sai Kamatani, that's a story that moves me.
Well, yes. I'm all in.
She cut her hair. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Um, our next match was the Spark Rush team of Sari and Takumi Iroha beating Fua-chan and Hazuki in 12.5 minutes. Sari beat Fua to get the win. Um, this was great. When I tell people Takumi is like my favorite wrestler and that I would take her over just about anybody in the world if you were to do a fantasy draft, they always look at me like I'm insane. And I understand because for the past few years, she hasn't had the on switch on all the time. She's not 2018 Aroha anymore. She's not even 2019 Aroha anymore. But matches like this, when she flips the switch, you just see it. Like she was beating the shit out of Fua the entire time. It was fantastic. It was so aggressive, so physical. I think it made just about everything else on the show look a little bit worse in comparison because nobody else was getting as stiff as this match. Like what Sari and Fua did was just a step above all the forearms we were seeing from everybody else, basically. Um, and I really enjoyed this. This is one of my favorites of the year. Um,
That's
and
wild.
yeah, no, it's just I love it. I loved it. At one point, Scooby hit her running knee, and I slapped my chest so hard it still hurts. So that was how
Yeah.
awesome this was.
Yeah, I think the only forearm that could even like come close was one that Hina cracked Konami with at one point later in the match,
Mm,
the main event. Thought that was great. But yeah, no, I thought this match was awesome. Um, I do think that Hazuki, this was an instance where I wish she took a bit more of the front seat, um, because I know that she just wanted Fua to get a trial by fire here, and so I felt like she was a bit more sedated than I would like against Sari and Takumi. Um, Especially, because she just wasn't included down the stretch, like, whatsoever. I feel like by the halfway point, Hazuki had finished her shift, essentially. So I would have liked a little bit more of her in, like, the high impact zone. We did get a little bit of it. Her and Sairi had a great exchange, and her and Takumi were all over this match, especially early on, specifically. But yeah, that was a very fun match, really cool match. I just like Spark Rush. I think them beating people up is awesome.
yeah,
Um, they're
I
a
love
great
their
team.
entrance theme.
Love their entrance team. Yeah, I think they just like work well together, and I'm happy that we kind of got to see them here. It was something to make this show a bit more interesting, a bit more unique to every other Corkin they've been running that has similar matches to this. I Yeah, I really liked it. It was probably kind of on par for my match of the night. I liked it in a similar vein to Konami Hina. Um, Because yeah, I think the major drawback was I just didn't feel like Hazuki got into her, later gears, so to speak. I didn't really get enough of that, and that did kind of disappoint me, even though the match itself was still great despite it.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I thought it was awesome, even though it was kind
I
of
did
just
I
in
did too.
service of the Sarism show.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think the point of it ultimately took away from it is that it's like, oh,
Mhm.
we're advertising Spark Rush and we're giving Fuwa a trial by fire. And it's like me, a Hazuki fan who's been dying to see her and Saori like, have a stretch against each other. I didn't get that. You know what I mean? So I think that is kind of, you know. Also very funny because Fuwa and Saori notably friends. And Saori was just bullying the fuck out of her like mercilessly the whole time and after the match. I think that's really cool.
Pretty sick.
Yeah.
Um, we then got on to the Stars team of Hanan, Momokogo, Saida, and Yuria Hime, beating the Neo Genesis squad of Azumi, Mei Seira, Miyo Misaki, and Starlight Kid in 9 minutes. This is just a pretty fast paced match. Ida beat Amasaki in the end, and I thought their finishing stretch was pretty fun.
Yeah.
Azumi looked kind of good for like the first time ever. She remembered she's going away abroad next weekend and was like, hell yes, I'm gonna lock back in. Um, 'Cause, yeah, I remember her looking good at the start, but it was kind of Miyu and Ida that made the tag.
Yeah, no, I agree. Ida rocks. Happy she's here. That's actually the name for finish. Ida rock.
Hell
Uh
yeah.
Ida gone, if you will. Yeah, I think Ida was the star of the show here. It is always nice to remember that like Neo Genesis is a good team.
Hmm.
I feel like that's been like I mean, truthfully, the past like 10 Korkins, it's just been like, oh yeah, they're pretty cool. They're good at wrestling, and then
Yeah.
you move on. Um, but yeah, Ida was the star of the show for sure. Here,
Okay.
as she
We
should.
then got,
Beast.
yes. We then got on to do the Future of Stardom Championship match. Hanako beat Akira Kuragane in just under 15 minutes to retain the title.
Wait, it was
Uh,
only 15 minutes.
yes.
That's crazy. I thought it was 19, like 40. Like I thought
No,
that like it was like going up to the 20-minute time limit.
it's kind of crazy. So Akira
It
had,
felt
I
that
think she had
way.
new gear for this. Her
Yes.
gear has like very different, small differentiations, but I
She also
think
did
it
her
is new.
hair.
Yes,
She
yeah.
got kind of you know.
I think this is one that I think could have been great, but I just don't think they have it in them yet. I think Akira going 15 is a lot to ask when she is still in rookie form and doesn't have many moves that she can do. Like she had to hit that knee strike like 5 or 6 times. I think her slap at the start was kind of weak.
Yeah.
Um, like Akira has all the tools, though. I think like she brought a real fire and piss and vinegar to this that I don't think Hanako is kind of able to get out of people just yet, or even bring to the table. But Akira tried to bring that kind of intensity to this one, and I did think it was a good match. But I think 15 minutes was just a little bit too much to ask of both of them. They had the New Blood match recently. I don't know how long that one was. Let me check because I remember quite enjoying that because they did a similar like Akira was like really fighting Hanako and trying to beat her ass. That went 13. So
That was better than
yeah.
this.
So I mean they had the blueprint. I just don't think they could I don't think they could get it done. But like it wasn't a bad match. I mean I'm far beyond Hanako bad. I don't think that's true anymore.
I do.
But I do think Akira in a future Akira could probably have a great match in this same kind of format, but just as she is now, I don't think she's capable.
Yeah, I think Akira this match just told me like, okay, Akira's gonna be good eventually. Um, but I don't think she is now. Like I think I said this like pretty early on in her career that she you could tell she's been watching wrestling since she was 2 years old, which is true.
Mhm.
Like that's a factual statement. Like you could tell because she understands a lot of like just like you could tell she's been into it for a long time. And she knows a lot about how wrestling works. But I do think that like, the intensity you want from her isn't always there. And it can't be. She doesn't really have much to do. Um, and I feel like it's hard for her to kind of like, she's not a very fast wrestler. She's not very, like there's a lot of things that are just kind of like her overall is too low. I mean, she could try to do it, but
Mhm.
it's just not. The attribute isn't there yet. Uh, so like, yeah, I think that she will be good. I think she's really cool. Like that's why I got out of this match a lot was that she's really cool. She has the cool visuals. Like she just looks cool when she
Yeah.
wrestles. Like all those good things, but it just wasn't there. And she was wrestling one of the slower wrestlers in the company, so it's not like she was even like being pushed pedal to the metal to try to like sink or swim. It was more like either Akira was being a little boring or Hanako was being a little boring. That was kind of how I saw most of the match, unfortunately. Um, it's like
Yeah.
even if you are right and Hanako isn't bad anymore, I still think she's quite boring. I don't think she's a very interesting wrestler, which is a different thing. You could be a good wrestler and be boring. I think I think anybody who has ever said Sonata was a bad wrestler was like incredibly wrong. But if you
Mhm.
don't like how he wrestled and think he was boring, I get it. Like I didn't, but I get that. I can understand that. But I think calling him a bad wrestler would have been dumb. Like he just hasn't been a bad wrestler like ever. Like from the jump, he was a pretty good, fundamentally strong wrestler. I think you could make that argument for Hanako that like she's not a fundamentally bad wrestler anymore, but I still think she's pretty boring. If you don't, that's fine. But I just don't find her interesting. And like I said, I think she's uh too slow and she doesn't have enough of that intensity. She can't bring out that intensity in everyone, as you said, unfortunately. So I think that just, was it made this match weaker. I think they both got better performances out of each other at the New Blood show, like we said. So, and I didn't think that match was anything crazy to write home about, but I thought it was a better match than this, substantially.
Okay. Um, we then got on to our main event, which was for the Wonder of Stardom Championship match. Konami beat Hina to retain in 18 and a half minutes. I thought this was a very good match. I don't think it was quite on the level of some of Konami's other ones, but I did like kind of the arm work that paid off in the end. Like she was really going after the arm with the chair. And then she gave Hina she let Hina get out of the sleeper hold that she's been using to win some of her title matches. So she did kind of make sure Hina got something in the loss. I think maybe people overlooked that that little wrinkle of Hina kind of escaping the one submission that has put away a lot of people. And then it was kind of the fact that Konami had beaten down Hina's arm and then got her into the finish, into the arm submission at the end that finally got her the win.
Triangle
But
Lancer, the
the
move.
modified Lancer, yeah. So I just think that was clever, she paid off the arm work. She was being a real dick for the entire thing. I think taking away one of Hina's arms was like a slightly interesting strategy, even if they didn't sell it as much as I would have liked. But then, getting the win with the focusing on the arm again after letting Hina get out of the sleeper, I think it makes Hina look somewhat good in defeat, which I think is something Konami has been pretty good at. So I think this was a
I
mission
don't,
accomplished.
but I think in this match, I do. Like that was kind of my thing. I think people are attributing their problems with this to the wrong source, in my opinion. Um, I think Konami's matches are just kind of getting a bit samey. I feel like she doesn't really bring anything interesting to any given match, like any given performance, I should say. Um, but and I guess to some degree, like this is something that Mike Bailey has brought up before. That it's like when he has a lot of matches in a small period of time, he just gives his stump match and lets his opponent kind of like fill in the blanks,
Mhm.
and that sucks sometimes. Like that's really boring and stupid, and it's much better when he doesn't do that. He doesn't say this, but that's how I think about Mike Bailey. Like I think it sucks when those WrestleMania weekends when he would run like 15 matches. If you watch 3 of them, you get it and you're done. Like you're like, okay, I don't need to see anymore. That's I've seen his stump match. I feel like that's where we're at with Konami for me personally. I don't think that, and I thought that was probably more frustrating against Ami. Um, yeah, I think all the problems that people have with this match, they were much worse against Ami Sourei than in this match personally. Because
Yes.
I thought that Hina was able to do quite a lot to keep herself looking good down the stretch. I love that she knew, like clockwork, her counter to the triangle lancer. Like she's like, I'm going to kick my feet up. I'm going to roll you up. She did that 3 times. She got on the triangle lancer 4 times. She did that 3 of them. You know what I mean? Like that's great. That's like, yes, you should have your, answer to the big move you're avoiding. I think that was, like it made Hina look smart, especially out of a move that once upon a time you don't get out of like that. Historically, they still say on commentary that that move is 100% success rate. And he got out of it 2 or 3 times, right? I think it was two. I think I'm over exaggerating, but still, she got out of it twice. That's awesome. Um, I think that the falsie on the sleeper hold was great. I think Hina was going out and her legs were getting slower as they were flailing, and then she just draped it over the rope, and I thought that was a great false finish. Like it was tremendous. Um, Made Hina look again like a real smart wrestler, which I think was kind of the point of this match was to make her look really smart, and as smart as somebody who's presented as smart like Konami. Um, and yeah, I mean, I wasn't a fan of her kind of like giving up all of her finishes so early. That's always been my problem, and I think it's a frequent problem of a first time white or red belt challenger. I think I always call back to Hameka against Shuri. I was like, you did all your moves, and now you don't know what to do, and there are 6 minutes left of this match. So now you just gotta eat you just gotta eat bullshit for the next 6 minutes because you don't know what to do otherwise. Like that kind of became a thing. I think that Hina was good enough to kind of like still, look strong by like fighting out of moves and stuff. Like I thought that was cool. But she shouldn't have hit the um the mudslide so early. Shouldn't have hit the Hina hammer so early. Like they're just like I just felt like that was a error ultimately in terms of the format of the match. And like I said, I think Konami is starting to feel very samey in her performances. I can't call to attention really anything that stood out from this match more than it did the Yami match or the Rena match or the Sari match from last year or anything really. Like I think Konami is kind of uh, one note these days, which I think is the main difference between like now and like what one would consider her peak. Because I think that's an interesting conversation to have. I don't think we need to have it right now. But like, what is Konami's peak now? If you are a big fan of this white belt run, I'm not. I think it's been good, but it hasn't been great. Uh, like I feel like she's a bit more one note in her matches now, in her singles matches now, than she was once upon a time. And that would be my defense of her older stuff being her peak compared to now. But yeah, so I had a couple problems with it. It was still probably my favorite match of the night. Because I was really happy with Hina's performance, especially, and I thought Konami did good enough with her stump, so to speak, to you know not make it a bad match. Like I thought it was a very, very good match. Really uh, fun to see Hina in this role. But yeah, there were definitely some problems with it. Certainly not as much as I would say the Ami one though. Like I feel
I
like
really liked
all
both.
huh?
I really liked both.
Yeah, I know,
The Army
whatever.
match is an
Um
interesting twist.
I think that like any pitfall I saw at this match I saw in a similar way to the Ami match. Like but I think I just like Hina more. Like just as a wrestler, I'm a bigger fan of Hina. But I also thought Ami had some cool stuff to contribute to her match that Hina can't do. So yeah,
Okay.
it's all kind of starting to blend together. Is my point with Konami. I feel like that's
Yeah.
kind of the problem.
Yeah, I would agree. I think she's kind of got the same general layout, but I think she is smarter kind of than most of their wrestlers, so she is making it work. I feel like the Hina arm work was a different approach to the Ami match, where Ami is just overpowering Konami, which nobody else was able to do. I think she has been able to kind of make each match stand out to a degree. It's not like Starlight Kid, where it was all basically the same match. I think Konami's been a little bit more intelligent about it if you focus on the details.
Sure.
Okay. Um, right.
Sorry,
Well,
I blacked out for the last like 10 seconds of what you said. So I was like, oh fuck, it's fine.
you needed to catch your breath
Yeah, I talked a
after your
lot.
monologue. Okay. Well, let's start for the review. It was an interesting cork, and I think it was better than the last one by a good bit, but that's just me. Um, we do have to preview the opening 2 rounds of Cinderella Tournament. Um, in fact, we almost have to preview all the opening 3 because the next round is on the 11th. So we're
We
kind of
do.
just going to be running through
This
a
comes
lot of
out
it
the
here.
we have to preview that round too.
Um,
We
yeah.
just won't get to
So look,
preview it next week.
yeah, this is a big tournament, all right, folks.
Wait,
So
no, because wait, yeah, so we have to preview the 11th too, because next week we'll record on the 11th.
I
It will
was
have
just going
happened
to do
12
big
hours
picture
earlier.
stuff anyway, so I don't mind this. So the left quadrant of the bracket has Hanan, Momokogo, Wakasukiyama,
Just say
Rane
the
Agami.
matches. You're going through. Just say versus blank
Okay,
versus blank.
fine. Hanan versus Momokogo, Waka versus Rana, Maki Ito versus Kikyo Furusawa, Maki Ito versus Fuwa-chan.
Siriano versus Fua.
Sorry, Suriano versus Fuwa-chan. That is the lower left side. Um, I think there are some very obvious matches that they can make here that will play off of
Yes,
recent stuff.
I
Like
think
I
this is actually
feel
the most interesting quadrant, which is hilarious because one of the matches does not matter, like at
yes,
all.
but I think they have the very obvious Anna versus Ito, which is going to happen in the second round.
Yes.
They've kind of been at odds since Ito debuted.
Hmm.
Anna is obviously going to beat everybody in her path, and I think that sets us for the 11th to have Hanan versus Ano,
I'm
because I
I'm
think
I don't know. Well, yeah, I think that would make sense.
because they've
Uh,
kind of been paired before. They kind of have this like thing going for the white belt. So I feel like that would be a
yeah,
very natural match to book. And Ano is
great
in the
rivalry
position
too.
where
They're
she
really
can
good against each
lose.
other.
Yeah, like I think they're great together. So I think Hanan have an impressive match against Ano. That will obviously be a selling point for a Corkin as well. Like if you were to advertise a match on 3 days' notice for Corkin that you know is going to sell tickets, I think Hanan versus Ano is a
It could
pretty easy one.
also, looking a little bit further, it could also tease a Suriano Natsupoi semifinal. Um,
That's true.
yeah, so I think I initially had Maki going over and getting to Hanan, mainly because I think if Hanan's not winning her side, then I think Maki Ito is. Uh, so I was kind of like mentally put them up against each other. But I
Yeah.
think it would probably make more sense if Ano fell to Hanan in the quarterfinals on the 11th.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would have Hanan progressing to the semifinals.
Yes.
Um, Rana and Waka, I mean, it doesn't really matter. I imagine Rana might win.
Yeah.
She'll have the better match with Hanan. And then obviously Ito is beating Kikyo and Ano is beating Fua. On the middle left side, we have Ayasakura versus Fuki Gendef, Hanako versus Yuria Hime, Yuna Mizumori versus Rian, and Natsuboi versus Tabata. So I think it's a lock that they're going to do Aya versus Hanako in the second round. So I would have Aya over Fukigen and Hanako over Yuria. I think Yuna over Rian is an interesting one because I think Rian could upset Yuna and
I think
challenge
Rion
for
is going to
seed.
upset Yuno. I think that's what's going to happen.
And then, because that would be another rematch because she wrestled Natsupoi and a Korakuen recently.
Yes.
And so I think you can rerun Natsupoi Rian then on the 6th.
They could also be pushing towards Rion joining Cosmic Angels, which I don't know if they
That's
will,
true. Yeah.
but I think that could be kind of where we're heading with that. Um,
That's an easy way to get her out as well.
yeah,
Just Natsupoi winning is okay.
yeah.
Um,
I
that
will
leads
say,
into the interesting.
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. There you go.
Couple interesting things. Aya Sakura dressed up as housemaid Cinderella at the
Yes.
at the presser, um, and I will bring that up again momentarily. Uh, And also, Rihanna was like, "Hey, I figured you didn't drink alcohol, do you?" And Yunamon's like, "Yeah, I drink alcohol." She's like, "Oh, I got you juice. I just figured you didn't drink. My bad. I'm gonna drink though, if that's cool." And so yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. And also, Natsupoi said that she is, and I quote, um, going to win this tournament so that she can make Bushiroad pay for her dress, her wedding dress. She's going to
Jeez.
wear the Cinderella dress as her wedding dress. Um, really, really, you know turning the tide on idol culture here, making the company pay for your wedding dress. Hilarious. They don't they don't usually like it when you get married. So
No.
that sounds hilarious. She's like, "Thank you, Taro. You're gonna pay for it. Thank you." Um, yeah, I think Natsuko is just gonna win this quadrant. Um, I think it's gonna get to her and Aya.
Yeah, I think it's her and Aya, or Aya and Hanako do a draw, and
Sure.
Natsupoi advances. I think that's probably it. Because I think Hanan Natsupoi is a big time semifinal. Like that's a big match that Hanan can win.
Say that would be like the easiest path anybody's ever had to the semifinals. Not literally. I'm pretty sure somebody's like
Yes.
literally won one match and got into the semifinal. And it was like a
So then
nothing
everybody
match.
would draw in the final.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
exactly.
Konami won like one time in the Hoshiki year.
Yeah, yeah. So to be fair, yeah, I think Konami won maybe two matches at most. Uh,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it was fun.
so Natsupoi getting through, beating Tabata and Ryan would be very funny. It's like she gets to the final day just on that alone. But yeah, I could see it happen.
Mm, okay.
Even though then you'd only
Um,
have three quarter matches on that Korakuen, so I don't know if that's enough.
I think they'd have enough with Hanan Ano. Like I think that's enough to sell almost. And then the
Yeah,
other side could have some interesting matches as
they are
well.
going to have one very interesting match. Maybe.
Yes.
We'll see.
Okay. So on the middle right quadrant, we have Saki Kashima versus Sayaka Kurara, Tomoki Inaba versus Ane Kanaya, Akira versus Rina, and then B versus Ami Sore. Um, my read on this is they're going to do B Rina in the second round because they've kind of been paired off in tags a lot, and I feel like B would be totally into putting Rina over.
She does like
Um,
the sisters a lot.
she does, and then I would have Kurara and Inaba advance. I think Inaba could get a good match with Kurara. I feel like I've seen them have interesting exchanges before, maybe in like a New Blood show or something. So I
Mhm.
think you could do Inaba Kurara, and then Kurara advances and gets Rina in the latter stage.
So I am kind of smelling a B Ami draw. Um,
Mm,
yeah, I just I could see either of them winning to take on Rina, but I also can see neither of them winning. I think either
yeah,
is truly possible. Yeah, but I feel the same. I have Carrara and Tomoka going to the second round, and then Carrara likely winning. I will say though, if they do want to go like fully Tam Road, Saki Kashima could just revival Carrara to make her look like a
yes,
real loser before she
yeah,
challenged Sai Kamitani for the world title. Um, because that just seems like what they like to do, I guess. So that's also possible. Funnily enough, I think Sakakura very similar to Yuya Uemura in the New Japan Cup because I said the same thing with him. I was like, Yuya could lose to Great Okan just because it makes tournament how the rest of the tournament play out easier, just from a matchup perspective, or he could just win, like win the entire tournament. I feel similarly with Carrara. It's like she could lose to the Jester in the first round, or she can just win the whole tournament. Like I think both are completely feasible. Um, yeah, I mean obviously Reno over Akira. So yeah, I have similarly. I do think we have Carrara meets Rena in the quarterfinals. Think about that. That's last year's final. Um, so I could see Rena righting the wrong of last year against Carrara, but also
yeah.
that
I
makes
think
it.
Hate just cheats her. I think Hate
Yeah, I
would
think that sucks,
have
but
her
you're
lose.
probably right. Um,
So I feel like you don't do the semis without Rena. Like she's one of their main like pet projects, kind of, and her getting far in every tournament is kind of like a thing they like to do. So I think you her getting to the semi final would fit.
I mean, I
You know, but
suppose.
also just do her and Hanan then in the final. Like I think that would
Yeah, I
be
mean that's truthfully the looking at this side, it's not very strong in terms of contenders to win the tournament. Plenty of contenders to make the semifinals.
yeah.
Or even, like not even the finals. Yeah, pretty much plenty of wrestlers to make the semifinals, but not many to make the finals. Um, So yeah, I mean, I could see that. I think Rena winning would probably work because that does help with my thinking of the semifinals as well, which we will get to into in a minute.
Okay. So on the far right quadrant, we have Hina versus Xena, Lady C versus Azusa Inaba, Miyo Masaki versus Rin Yamashita, and Sai Ida versus Kyoka Kutatsu. My big guess for this side is they're gonna do Xena versus Yamashita the quarters and
Yeah.
do EXV versus Movida Loca.
hmm
So that would require her beating
I
Hina
think,
in round one, which I think is fair. You'd probably do Yamashita Ida in round two as like maybe your main
yeah,
event or your semi-main event of that show on the seventh. And
eighth,
then like
but yeah.
either Lady C or Azusa can win. I don't think it matters that much.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, I think Xena and Yamashita is the quarter here. Couple things. Yamashita showed up in shorts and her own T-shirt, and she
That's
said,
sick.
"I was going to dress up like maid era Cinderella, but somebody already did that.
Damn,
So this is what I had in my bag. Sorry." Uh, that was the that was the vibe. And she also said,
so awesome.
"However, I would appreciate until I lose in this tournament if everybody just called me Cinderella." Um, and
Dude, can we
Mia
just give
win.
Movida Loca to her? Can we just like
Yeah,
trade her for
that's where I'm at.
Suzu?
Um, Yamash or Mia Masaki was like, "No, but your name's Yamashita," and she's like, "Sorry, who are you talking to?" And Mia's like, "Your name's Yamashita." She's like, "Oh no, I'm Cinderella," and then she just went on with her fucking business. It was great. Uh, she also said that if she wins the tournament, she will be wishing for a hardcore match in the main event of the spring show. So, or maybe not the main event, just a hardcore match in at the big spring show. So I think she
That's
should win
awesome.
the tournament.
Yes, I agree.
That's where I'm at. I think Rina Yamashita should win the tournament. She won't. I unfortunately think it's going to be Rina Yamashita versus Rina in the semifinals. Uh,
Ooh,
I think we're gonna get Rina match because I that was kind of my hard sell. Like, 'cause I had Sakakura initially going through to face Hanan in the finals, but my hard thing, like my hard sell, was like the semifinals. It just didn't feel that strong. Like Carrara versus Yamashita feels hard to book. Not hard to book, but just like Carrara can beat anybody on any given day. But it's still hard for me to believe her beating Rina Yamashita, if that makes sense. Like, it
kind
just
of.
like, I know that she, like, wins. Like, I know she
You
beats
can just
people.
throw them over the top, though.
Can you in the semifinals? I thought that was out after a certain point.
I don't know.
Because
That
they
is a
changed the
good question.
rules.
I'm not going to find that information. So it's.
I'm going to find that. Um,
Oh wait, it's here. Okay. Quarterfinals and semifinals. Oh yeah, they do have the over the top. Yeah,
they still do? Okay.
yeah.
I
It's
wasn't
just
sure.
the final. Wait, no, it's in the final as well.
Holy shit. Carrara's gonna win the entire tournament by throwing Hanan over the top rope. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That was never a thing, I don't think. I
No, I
think the
don't think it
final
was.
was like, okay, we don't do that bullshit no more.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting.
that's crazy. Um, yeah, I mean, I Carrara could just kind of toss her over the top. I always forget over the
Yeah.
top is like such a thing. Um, yeah, I still think I think you kind of convinced me. I think it's gonna be Rena versus Rena in the semis, and
Okay.
I think it's gonna be Natsupoi versus Hanan on the other side. Um,
Those are cool. The way I look at the Cinderella this year is I think this is probably this reminds me of like a strong New Japan Cup. I think
mhm,
there's stuff at every stage to kind of pay off stuff for viewers. You know what I mean? Like only Stardom watchers would remember that B and Rena have kind of been at odds in tags. But if they face in the second round, then it's like, oh, you're rewarded for paying attention. And same with like EXV versus Vivita Loca in the quarters or something like that. Um, Now this is giving them a lot of praise for something that hasn't happened yet.
no, and it's
it
also
could
like
it could go off the wall,
they
but
continue to
as
hamper themselves with this tournament. Um, like
kind
I just realized like 10 minutes before we start recording that May Sarah isn't in this tournament. I know
She's
she's in
in
Mexico,
Mexico.
but that's
Yeah.
so fucking stupid. Like that is so crazy to me that May Sarah, someone who is literally designed for this tournament, somebody who is doing nothing, has no future, trying to make her own future for herself in a tournament. That is the point of the Cinderella tournament. That's the whole thing. And she's not in it. Like that is so funny. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I know she's in Mexico. I know why she's not in it from a scheduling point of view. But why would you even send her to Mexico?
She
Like, why
wants
would
to.
send Azumi to Mexico?
Zumi's
Starbomb.
in England.
Why the oh fuck? I hate how
Booked by
much
Will
like white
Ospreay.
people. I
Yeah.
know. God damn it,
So,
Azumi.
but yeah, I think this is a strong Cinderella. If they do it properly, it would be a great tournament. But if they don't do it properly, I'll be annoyed. So
If they don't do it properly, you'll forget about it in 2 weeks because that's what happened the past like 3 years.
that's true. But yeah, that's it for Stardom. We're done. Woo! Congrats. Um,
Let's see next week if we're we show up to the show and we have our semifinalists correct. So we'll have our
yes,
semifinalists by next week.
we'll have to wait and see. Um, Now we're on to Marigold, and so I had an interesting idea this week where I wanted us to ask the listeners to send in some of their pros and cons about Marigold to date, kind of the booking of the company that, and we could just kind of discuss what people are talking about because I feel like Marigold is a very um it's a very hot topic sometimes on Twitter. Like people either really love it or they really hate it. There's very few in the middle. So I just thought it'd be interesting to get a check on kind of how people feel about the promotion right now. And so I will just go to your tweet and check some of the replies.
Oh
We're not
wait,
going to be.
I was gonna do a gimmick. This is the
Oh,
Marigold Town Hall. Welcome. It's like the inner circle used to do. This is us. This is that. This is that from Marigold. We are here to talk about all of the good and the bad at Marigold, which
yeah,
it's just it's like I think I'm not in the middle because I love Marigold, but I am also kind of in the middle. Like I don't really care. Like I think they do plenty of shit bad, but
yeah.
I just enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm very
Okay,
that's not good
so
for a podcast, but I'm very like not
it's
moved to
okay because
talk about it sometimes.
I'm more willing to throw Rossi some punches.
I
Um,
know you are. That's why you did this.
that's
I
not
have a
why.
feeling, I have a hunch that you're bummed Velke didn't give an answer because you know he would have just been like a nitpicking little nerd about it,
I got an
and he
answer
would have
from another Marigold hater, so frankly, I'm happy. I'm okay.
exactly. I told you you would be. I knew this is what you were trying to do. That's why I was like, I mean, I guess I don't really want to.
Whatever,
This sounds stupid, but
whatever.
town hall we will. Town hall we shall.
Um,
I always knew you were a little politician at heart. Let's go.
we're not going to be attacking anybody. We're not going to be naming and shaming. This is all anonymous. We're just going to discuss what's said. So the first one, I don't know why Twitter said this first. Pros: Hummingbird, just
Mhm.
Hummingbird. And this is fair. This person was worried that she wasn't going to wrestle again after leaving Actress, and now she still has a job. I think that is one good thing about Marigold is it is giving people jobs. I
They
don't
need to
think.
give Ryoko Sakamura her job back. I'm
Yes,
not
I
gonna
agree.
lie. I think it's time.
I feel bad for her so often now. She's really trying her best.
I hope she
Uh,
gets like a job at Gato Move or something. May Saruga
yeah,
seemed to like her. Um, we'll see.
but it is giving people
Hummingbird.
jobs. There's probably
Yeah.
no Shozuki still kicking without Marigold. People like
Well,
that.
and they actually gave her a job. She was like, "Thank God they let me work in the front office, or else I
Yeah,
probably would have gotten depressed and retired already." Um, so yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I agree, and I like Hummingbird. I think even looking at her versus Shizuki, like her first match, and seeing how much of a train wreck that was, um, I'm really happy that like they gave her time. That's why I'm kind of bummed about Ryoko right now, is because like she really just started to like landfall or landslide. Excuse me, like 3 weeks before she got fired. Um, I'm assuming she got fired. That's what it seemed like. Um, she started a landslide like 3 weeks prior to that, like, really? So
Mhm.
I'm kind of like, "Oh, no, I feel like we gave Hummingbird more time than that." And she has gotten good, like, she's become a valuable member of their undercard. You know, I mean, I know I'm a fan of hers more than some other people, but I don't think it's insane to say that. So, I do feel bad for someone like Ryoko. Uh, wait, Ryoko or Ryoka? Ryoko.
Yoko.
Um, but yeah, I'm happy Hummingbird's around too, honestly. I liked Cat Mask when I saw her in, uh Actress. I didn't really watch much Actress at the time, but I thought she was pretty cool, and I think it's really cool that she's around, and she has a cool mask. I like Hummingbird a lot. Everybody knows this.
Yes. Cons. Naoshikawa's booking hasn't been particularly great. Naoshikawa came up more than I think anybody in
Yes.
our replies, and I think it just speaks to how talented she is and how little she's done. I mean, she had the My Sakurai match and fell off the face of the earth. I think that is ridiculous. You know, I would agree that her booking is maybe one of the most annoying things. And I got a lot of pushback when I was like, she should be in the five or in the Dream Star last year. But really, if she wasn't going to get in then, when is she going to get in? And she is talented enough to get in, you know? Um, and I think there's definitely a world where somebody like now could be useful when I think a lot of your roster has struggled at, the promos and telling stories, where she's kind of able to do that stuff herself. So yeah, I agree. Now Ishikawa, she hasn't been used great, and it is quite frustrating.
Um, I am going to be the contrarian because I I feel like I feel a bit conflicted about Naoshikawa because I feel similarly about her to how I feel about Chiaki, except I like Chiaki personally, so that is a bit of a thing. But in the matter that it's like I could very easily argue that she is too inconsistent to give more chances to and give more of an opportunity to. I don't think she is capable of being um an upper mid carder. I don't. Like I think she could be a perpetual white belt challenger, maybe even get the white belt at some point, maybe even, like just barely clinch it like a Mina run, you know what I mean? Like a Mina type run. Maybe she can swing that, but I don't think she has what it takes to be more than that. Um, but the problem is that it's like they don't really give her chances. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
the Chiaki thing, everybody was like Chiaki cannot is not capable of being a red belt challenger. While she was challenged for the red belt, and they're like, look at her singles matches; they aren't good. And it's like they didn't allow her to have a singles match longer than like 7 minutes for the first year and a half of her Marigold run. Like, and the most recent singles matches he had outside of Miku were like against Hummingbird, which wasn't very good. They just didn't click together, or against Naoshikawa, which they've had like 7 times, and again they don't click particularly well together. They don't click poorly, but it's like their matches or whatever. So it's like you're not really giving Hiaki a chance in that way, and I think you could make the same argument for Naoshikawa. Um, Problem is, I don't know if Naoshikawa being good is as important as Chiaki being good to the company because Chiaki is positioned as, top two heel, top three heel at least. Um, and now Shikawa would be positioned as at best the 12th, babyface. Like even if she started making some moves, top six babyface, maybe seven. Like that's the problem. Is that now Shikawa needs to be given chances and needs to hit those chances out of the park to move up to a place where she's still maybe the sixth most important babyface on the roster. And it's hard to make that feasible. You know, I mean, I think like I agree that it's like now Naoshikawa should be at least positioned to get beat by someone. Like it's kind of infuriating. She hasn't challenged and lost for the white belt yet.
Mhm.
Like I think that's really stupid.
Or the
Um,
tags. Or
Or the
yeah.
tags, yeah, yeah, no, exactly. I think that's a great example. It's like she can lose to Misa Matsui in a tag team title match. That is not hard. You can do that. Um, why they haven't yet is beyond me. You know, I guess maybe it's that she isn't a Superfly. weight. You know, like she isn't a
She's small though. They could totally
she's not a
kayfabe
lightweight. I just don't think they want to. Like I don't think I
insanity.
think they prefer to, you know, be a bit more strict about that, even if it's not really necessary. But I guess she would be challenging for that if she was, you know, a junior, so to speak. She's
Mm,
not, so they just have left her kind of hanging. 'Cause, you know, I mean, like, I, I don't know. It's. I agree that it's kind of weird the way Naoshikawa's been booked, but I also can understand where it's like it's kind of just a hard position to be in for her because I just don't think she is at the caliber she would need to be to necessitate a push. I think that they're just like stopping themselves before they even start for some reason, which doesn't make sense to me. Rossi's never been like that. You know what I mean? He's never been like, you know what? I have so little faith in you. I'm not even going to make you sink or swim. I am just going to have you sit on the shore for several years and just never even look to you to do anything ever. Like that's not a Rossi thing. You know what I mean? Like either he doesn't like you and you just like shoo, or you get a title shot at some point,
hmm
or you're a youngin who, you know, never really makes it. Like, you know, like uh you just kind of retire early or whatever. Like this is weird. It's
Yes.
atypical. Even if I understand why it is happening, it's atypical. So yeah, I would agree with the that being a con. Because yeah, a lot of
Okay.
people had that actually.
Yeah. Um, this is an interesting one. The positioning and long-term investment in the actress, crew, and the young core has paid off tremendously. Rossi has been able to differentiate his roster when it could have easily been seen as just Stardom light.
Yeah.
Um, I kind of agree because I do think the first 6 to 9 months of Marigold was very Stardom heavy, and some people did hold that against them. But at the same time, those were your established stars. You know, it was
Mhm.
obvious that Utami and Julia were going to carry the first year of this promotion. Um, I think since then, with the elevation of Miku Ono, you know, Yuzuki is a Stardom trained wrestler, but she is somebody who I think Marigold has made into their own star. Um, and so you've got Yuzuki now in a position of influence. I think if by the end of the year, Seri will have been pushed to the top. You know, I think Nagisa Nozaki being a top heel is another thing that differentiates them from Stardom. Um, I do think he has done a good job, you know, and will probably do a better job this year of making his promotion feel less and less like Stardom and being more and more Marigold. So I would agree. I do think he's done a good job at making it, you know, he's not just Stardom 2.0. We're not just doing, you know, Utami and Mayu trade the red belts for the next 3 years. We have options that are new and fresh.
I think this is only going to be furthered by Koki getting better, which I have returned to the camp of I think is going to happen. I think she is going to become a top star in this company. By hell or high water. I think that like I'm seeing enough to where it's like, yeah, why not? Like I think we'll get there with her. And I think that will even further differentiate it because, you know, that's another non-stardom born wrestler. Uh yeah, I generally agree. You know, I think, funnily enough, another Stardom-born wrestler I'm about to bring up, but I think Shozuki coming back has really tipped the scales for me in that way, where it's like, yeah, this is like a fresh wrestler who I feel like, you know, is just a fun wrestler to watch. She mixes it up with the Stardom wrestlers, or former Stardom wrestlers. It's always really fun, you know. And she's been hurt for a while, so it has, you know, felt like you've been reinvigorated with something. Uh, Something so unique, you know, like like there's still, you know, actress versus Marigold matches I'm excited, or actress versus Stardom matches I'm excited to see. Like
Hmm.
you know, I think they had a GP match, but like Shizuki versus Utami, like that,
Oh yeah.
like fuck yeah, like let's do it. Like you know, like that's not a notable match I've seen. They might have run it in the first GP. I don't really remember. Um, I don't think they did. I think they were in a separate box, but I digress. Um, But point being, I think that's like, you know, there are just matches that I'm excited. I think I generally agree because it is more interesting with the actress wrestlers. You look at it, when it started, you look at the press conference, it's like, well, they have their 5 wrestlers, and then all the actresses show up, the performers show up. It's like, "Oh, shit, okay. Let's see how this goes." And it's like, without them, I don't know how much success Marigold would have had by now. You know what I mean? I think they are such a massive contribution to the roster and to the company that I'm very happy that they have been integrated so well and that it's been such a, seamless thing to separate Marigold very heavily from Stardom.
Okay. Um, the next one has a pro that is just Darkness Revolution.
That's
No
fair. I think
extra.
I think over the last 10 days, great take. I've always liked Darkness Revolution. I haven't always loved Darkness Revolution, but I think that last Korakuen really solidified that there is like a lot of legs in this group that, I think the group has a lot of upward trajectory coming out of that. I think there could be a lot of fun stuff coming with a bald Chiaki and, a Rhea who got her face bludgeoned by Arina Yamanaka, and just Nozaki kind of wanting to push all 3 of them forward. I agree. I think I'm much more on the Dark Revolution boat than I was a couple weeks ago.
Okay. Um, I guess I think it's nice that we have a cool heel faction who just kind of dance and can toe the line between silly and dangerous when they want to.
Yeah,
'Cause,
I
I don't think hate is that anymore for the most part. They're just the bad guys. But
I
there's
think that's
definitely room for
why
a cool.
I think that's why the Chiaki Miku story was so frustrating, because I was like, finally we could have these stories back.
Mhm.
We could have the Natsu-esque stories, the Kagetsu-esque story. Kagetsu, he used to have the cardboard belt when he was like, I am the deserving red belt champion. He would carry around a cardboard red belt, and like, people would take it and kick it, and he would freak the fuck out, like he would cry, like that. Like that's fun, that's funny. And I was like, why aren't we doing that with this story? I feel like that's what you want to do, but you just haven't done it. So yeah, I'm happy to have that as well in that same sense. I just wish they capitalized on that uh for the Miku story.
Yeah. Um, Another pro, for the most part, every decision makes sense and feels like a natural progression. Um, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's one of the better things about Rossi that I would kind of commend him for. He's not just going to have Utami lose to Hummingbird for no reason on a house show. You
Mhm.
know, things feel earned a lot more by the wrestlers. I can complain about Naoshikawa all I want, but her not winning was mean more than if she was just, picking up wins just
It's
because.
narratively relevant and functional. Like
Yeah.
it
Like,
you know,
for example, if she was Miyu Amasaki, it would just be like a shoulder shrug, right? Because Miyu Amasaki, she wins, she loses, she wins, she loses. It never means anything. It means jack shit, right? She's just there. She is Miyu Amasaki.
and now
Whereas,
she's likely losing in the first round of the
yeah.
Cinderella.
Whereas like
Maybe
now,
not. Maybe
oh
she gets the arena run that we're talking about, but I
yeah,
feel like she isn't.
maybe.
The arena
Um,
Image run, I mean.
But then, like in Marigold, yeah, like you have to earn those wins. Those wins mean a lot more. I remember Yuzuki in the lead up to the UN title match, she got the pin instead of Mayu in a tag, and I went, okay, she's winning the UN title match. Because stuff like that is important. If you're a star, you win
Momentum
matches.
builds. Yeah.
And so I do agree. I think for the most part, the big decisions are logical and they make sense. And he's always kind of been like that. He's never been like willy nilly. I think with wins and losses, which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, and I think that might be part of my problem with Stardom that I need to grow up from, I suppose, is that it's like I kind of expect it to make sense. Uh and sometimes it just doesn't, and I get very
Hmm.
frustrated, but it's like, well, sometimes shit don't make sense. Um because yeah, I mean like I love and I mean it was the same thing with New Japan. I think New Japan had the same allure to it that it lost and now people are annoyed about, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, I enjoy watching you know, a prelim tag having fucking, what's like an example? Having my Sakurai pin Natsumi Shozuki. It's like, oh, that's a fairly notable win. And then at the end of the show, she comes out and is like, I want to fucking challenge for the belt because I beat this relatively, protected name. And that has given me the momentum, the courage, the ability to challenge for this belt. And like, if I have to work for it, I'll work for it. And then she works for it, or she doesn't, and then she challenges. Like it all functions in a like A to B to C to D instead of going from A to 7 to 3 to B to Z, and then Sai Kamitani is champion for 9 months or for 2 years. Like
Yeah.
I like I like the bit more. Sometimes I like the more boring answer. Like sometimes I just like it when it's just like, yes, I like it when I can kind of see it coming because it makes sense. Thank you.
Mhm.
And I think Rossi likes that too, as he is an old man who worked for AJW.
All right. Um,
There's a con
Con.
now. Yeah,
Yes. Lack of a strong main event scene who feel like they belong in the red belt picture. That's another one I think that came
I
up a few
strongly agree.
times. Yeah, because I think if you were to have somebody hold the red belt for 18 months, say 6 pay-per-views, they would run out of people that you could genuinely main event the pay-per-view against.
Mm.
Like you have, I don't know, Utami, Mayu, Mai, Yuzuki, and sure, by the end of
Sari
the year, you might
in
have
the
Seri.
next couple months.
But
Yeah,
one of those people has to hold the belt too. So there's only 5, unless you're calling in Aroha. But I don't think you can press that button every time there's a world champion.
yeah,
So yeah, I do think there's a lack of, pay-per-view main event red belt wrestlers, which is fair. It's a promotion that is only 2 years old, but it is definitely an issue.
yeah. I got a similar one in DMs of a con. It's that yeah, there are not enough gatekeepers, as we've said before.
That
Um,
too.
there aren't people with credibility that you can book in important matches and beat in similarly important matches. It's too top heavy with the main eventers only being able to be pinned once in a blue moon or not feeling like they're main eventers at all.
Yeah, we've kind of talked a lot about Bozilla because I think Bozilla was
Yeah.
perfect
I
for
think
that.
Bozilla and Mirai are like the two, two very clear, like, yeah, she could challenge Sari, but she could also lose to pretty much any reasonable mid carder. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, you could do both. Like, and there we don't have Bozilla or Mirai anymore. Like, you don't have that anymore
Yeah.
at all.
No, I agree with both of those. I think it is hard to make main eventers, and it's getting harder to make people just outside the main event picture because outside of Nozaki, I don't know who you can really beat to gain credibility
And you
first.
can't just have one person like that because
Yeah.
like Nozaki, I think it's pretty obvious. Is kind of tired of getting beat. Like, I
Mhm.
think she got beat, like 6 times in the first year and a half of Marigold. Um, or no, for the first, like, year or so. Yeah, until, for the first year and a bit, that she was like, "I don't really wanna get pinned anymore. Like, can I
Mhm.
take a break from being pinned? Because like, I would like to still be, to still have my image intact." And so they had to lay off. Understandably so. I'm like, this is not a Nozaki shade. Like, she had every right to be like, "Dude, I've like you're having everybody beat me. Like, can you calm down a little bit?" And like I get that, and by everybody I mean my Sakurai like twice or three times, was the big one. But still, like, a lot, like she got pinned plenty. And then she was like, okay, I'm gonna not get pinned for a little bit now. Cool, cool. And now we have no gatekeepers. Like that's the problem with just having Nozaki, essentially. Um, and yeah, I think the big point is also the top heavy main eventers because you can't just pin Utami. Like we said with
Mhm.
with the pro, it's like if you're pinning Utami, that has to mean something, especially for Rossi, who historically has been protective of Utami since the day she debuted. You know, what I mean, that's not somebody that he is going to just kind of drop. Even though Rossi has this reputation of being you know, he likes his new toys. There are certain wrestlers he's just never going to be like, yeah, you could just lose. I don't really give a fuck. Like that's just never going to be him for Mayu. It's never going to be him for Utami. Like it's mainly those two. But like that's just never going to be how he feels. So it's hard because there are It is top heavy in a sense, but also that top is only 4 people. You know what I mean? It's not even like, oh, like these, it's top heavy and everybody's, vying for the number one spot. It's like it's top heavy, but the top is 4 or 5 people who, not like half of them can't be champion anytime soon. Like Utami can't win the belt back anytime soon. Mayu can't win the world title anytime soon. My Sakurai just challenged and lost 2 months ago. Then there's Miku. You know what I mean? Like yeah, it's a major problem.
Yeah, I agree. Um, let's see. Uh, Pros are new faces, which yeah, I mean we kind of went over that with the actress and the young core. New championships and matches for them, which I think is an interesting one with the 3D belts coming in. I think before that I would have disagreed and said that the Superfly is kind of a limiting
Not enough.
factor.
Yeah.
And the GHC is basically non-existent, but I do think that the 3D belts coming in kind of does make that a pro, and I think maybe they have just enough belts for now for what they need to do. So I would agree on that as a
Yeah,
pro.
right now we're living life in rose tinted glasses, baby. You know what I mean? That's what it's all about.
um,
That's my only statement.
the roster isn't bloated and manageable, and I think it's a pro. That is, I would agree. I think it can be a con sometimes as well. Like they are at any point like two load bearing injuries away from it's like the world caving in. But I do think like you don't have a big 6-on-6 schmoz. You know what I mean? Nobody in Marigold is kind of lost completely in the sauce because you have to wrestle at some point in a spotlight. You know what I mean? The
I mean, I
worst you're
could
going to get is a 3-on-3.
you could talk about it. It's like I have watched like Rana Yagami, right?
Hmm.
I have seen 10 Rana Yagami matches this year. I cannot tell you a single one where she like stood out notably because they were all like 6-on-6s or not 6-on-6, but I mean, like she's had maybe two straight up tag team matches, 2-on-2 tag team matches, and she was good in them. Like she's fine, but do you get what I'm saying? Like out of
Yeah.
10 matches, I would hope you would stand out. You would be able to like have a have something to yourself a bit more, and I don't think you get that. I mean, I think it's a similar problem with New Japan, right? New Japan is also bloated, or was bloated at least. Um, but where it's like there are plenty of people who just will fade into the background, even if they aren't background characters. They just, like, there's just too many bodies in existence that they need to center, right? And I think that is a generally positive for Marigold, even though, you know, I think there is a argument to be made that having more people is good because it allows you to do more things. You know,
Hmm.
look at
I
GM mode. Look at GM mode back in the day, right? Like people, like your roster would get mad if you had too many people on the roster because they
Yeah.
don't get their spots. But having too few people on the roster, you got to double book or you got to do person. You can never do a big tag match, which sometimes you want to do. Like it becomes limiting. I feel like Marigold is in a pretty comfortable spot roster wise. I would like a couple more people on the roster, and we're gonna get it. I know there are people in the dojo, but I've said it before plenty of times. I would like them to invest in some more experienced wrestlers, not even like like legends or veterans, just slightly more experienced wrestlers. But yeah, so I think the lack of bloat is a good thing, but it could also be a problem very often, as you said.
Yeah. Um, so it has room to innovate and establish a unique tone, which I think has kind of gradually declined, I would say. I think this time last year, we talked about it a lot. Their house style had gotten very grounded and logical. Um, and I
They
think
lost.
since, yeah, I think since Mayu came in, it's been a lot more of people trying to kind of copy Mayu. But I do think there is still room to be unique. I mean, the Rhea Yuzuki UN match is a complete, standout match, right? There's very few like it. The Mai Sakurai Yuzuki match is a completely different match to that. You know, the Chiaki Iono match is one that unlike anything they've done in the company.
Mhm.
So I do think there is a lot more room to be yourself or to try things in Marigold, which maybe you don't notice in the moment, but if you look back and think back, you're like, yeah, actually, no, Mayu versus Komomo was completely different to Mayu versus Arena, for example. There
Yeah.
is room to do stuff and to innovate a little bit. So I would agree that is a pro. I think there's a lot more room for the wrestlers to be themselves and to try stuff and to wrestle to their distinct styles a lot more.
Yeah, and I think getting trapped in a house style is like a historically Joshi thing to happen. Like it happens very noticeably in Joshi history. Obviously, you can always talk about the New Japan epics, but that's one match every couple months that is forced to be, the 30-minute match, so to speak. Um AJW, if you go back to the 90s of AJW, that house style was very samey.
Oh
There are
yeah, by
wrestlers
the
who were
mid
much
'90s,
better.
it was not
Yeah,
good.
like that's what I mean. Like you are having Mariko Yoshida wrestle the exact same type of match that Kyoko Inoue is wrestling, who's wrestling the exact same type of match that or is trying to wrestle the same exact type of match that, Manami Toyota is capable of wrestling, who's wrestling the same
Hmm.
match that Aja Kong is wrestling. Like those four wrestlers are not the same. Not even close. None of them are even close to the other. Like but they all were forced to wrestle the same matches every month on every show. Um Obviously, sometimes it'd be longer, sometimes it'd be shorter, but it was a very rigid house style. I think Argion, even though I love their house style, that was kind of a problem too. At certain points, I think especially after a few years, um, if you look at the singles matches, it kind of was stuck in a certain place, and it was hard for certain wrestlers to break out of. But also, I kind of loved it in a way. Like I didn't think it was that much of a problem with Argion, but by the time it got to like A to Z, it kind of became a but it is a historically it's a Joshi issue, and Stardom I think over the years has gotten into that too. Where it's like the house style becomes a bit too samey, and it's hard to stand out. I've talked about it a lot with Kikyo Furusawa. I'm really worried about her because I don't think her style is going to work. You know what I mean? Because it's not the same as anything anybody else is doing in the company. So I do think that there is a bit more room to be different. Um, but I also I agree. I think the house style a year ago is better. Like I think the way Mariah influenced the house style was something that I will always cherish. Be something that I will always enjoyed. You know what I mean? Something I'll always look back on very fondly. The way Mariah and Denai, for that matter, influenced it was very different, very enjoyable, very fun. So while I agree, like similar to you, that you know it's nice that it's different. It's nice that people can like, do their own thing. I do kind of miss there being like a mandate to be a bit more like you need to learn how to grapple. Like you need to
Hmm.
learn how to do this stuff. So that when Julia comes back, she could have her grapple fuck matches and you won't look like an idiot. Um, Now Julia comes back and tries to do a grapple fuck match with somebody, they ain't gonna know what to do. That's concerning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that is something I'll miss. But I think it's a positive for sure that people are able to stand out a bit more.
Okay. Um, Cons: not enough main eventers or high caliber wrestlers, which we kind of touched on with the main event scene. Rossi's in sorry, inconsistent
Words.
and hesitant booking, which
I think hesitant is more of my problem. Like I think he's been fairly consistent
kind of.
in sometimes in bad ways. I think he's been fairly consistent. Um, but I do think he's been way too hesitant with a lot of
Hmm.
things. Like it feels like why I mean, like I said with the Now Ishikawa thing, I don't think the Now Ishikawa thing should be a priority, but it is kind of crazy that they just hesitate to give her anything to do ever, like at all. Like she's not that
Hmm.
bad. Like can't give her you can't give her a Mayu squash even. Like you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like you can't be have Naoshikawa come out and be like, you know what, Mayu, fuck you, I want to fight you, and then have her get squashed at the Korakuen. Like can't even do that. Like that is hesitancy, and
Yeah.
that's not like that's annoying hesitancy. I think there is a definite argument for that. Um, and like the conservative nature of the titles now.
Mm.
Uh, where it's hard to kind of like put yourself in position for a title, but then it feels like he never really goes all in with these wrestlers. Even the Chiaki thing didn't happen until a few days before
Yeah.
the match happened. Like there was so much, just like just not there was such a lack of confidence in the story they were telling that made it a worse product overall when it could have been really good. Uh, so I definitely see the problems there. You can,
Um,
I'm sure you have plenty to say about that sort of thing.
kind of, I feel like there's other comments that I think explain it a little bit better, so I will wait until we get
Do
to
you want me to
those.
give a pro? 'Cause I do have one more from my
Oh no, we
opinion.
have more for
Oh,
the
okay.
broadcast. Yeah. Um, so another con is it's becoming predictable. Um, I don't see that as a con as much. I can see why, especially with how slow the pacing can be for the booking sometimes. But I don't really think predictable is bad. I think being able to see who your top stars are is generally a good thing. It makes building stories a lot easier and building anticipation a lot easier. But I can definitely see like for house shows, you kind of know who's winning and who's taking the pin.
Sure.
Like no, there's never going to be a world title or UN title change at Corkin. I think that is definitely predictable in a bad way.
I don't know.
So I think there's,
I could definitely see Izuki drop the belt at a Gorkin,
he
but
hasn't done it though.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
But I mean, we're still new.
um,
It's hard.
so
And like three
I
champions of each belt, but
yeah, but
I
I
get what
think that I think becoming predictable in some ways is bad, but in some ways it's good. I don't think
yes,
there's necessarily a bad thing in predictability. I think knowing who's where and to an extent foreshadowing what's going to happen is fine.
I agree. I think that is my thing. I think we do need a white belt change at a Korakuen just to establish it as a thing that happens. I would say, hey, next time if they run Yuzuki versus Rhea at a Korakuen, watch out. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. Um, but yeah, I get that, like the predictability angle. Uh, More so with I think that with like the title matches at Korakuens is that it's like I would like it if I felt a bit more like, oh, maybe, like about the singles titles. I feel like the tag belts are unpredictable enough. And like, I think there's I don't know. I already kind of get into my point about how predictability is good sometimes, and like you said, it kind of can lead to understandable booking that doesn't frustrate and confuse.
Hmm. That's fair.
So yeah,
Um, Pro for a roster that's almost 33% less than 2 years in the business, the rookies are allowed to fail, and it's nice seeing their growth, which I think is pretty much one of the selling points of Marigold. You get to see the
yeah,
growth of Seri, Shino. You've got Suzuki become a star before your eyes. You're going to see Yuki Yamazaki become her own thing. You're seeing Nigis Tachibana improve. I definitely
Komomo
think
and
that
Rhea.
is, yeah, those two as well. Like you are seeing these wrestlers grow in front of your eyes, and that isn't one of the most interesting things. People really enjoy that sort of stuff. So yeah, I do think that the roster kind of embracing the youth to an extent has been a big positive for them.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think it's it's why it gets so frustrating that there's so few people up top. Um, because it's like I want there to be people for these people to beat that aren't just Shizuki. You know what I mean? But I also don't know, like, I don't want them beating my Sakurai yet because my Sakurai is great. Like she shouldn't be on the the out, so to speak. So I agree. Um, I mean, I think that's kind of that was the sell of Gaia back in the day. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Is that it's like you had like this world class trainer and world class training system producing world class, rookies who are all fighting for their lives, fighting for their spots. And that was always like that was the fun of the first couple years of Gaia. Beyond just, oh, Chigusa's here, look, Chigusa's here, isn't that cool? So I think that is kind of a recipe for success in Joshi, and I have enjoyed it as well. So I agree.
Cons. The booking of Utami is actual terrorism. I mean, I hated her red belt
Sometimes
run. I think the story leading up to her red belt win was botched entirely. I think since she's lost the belt, it's been a lot better. I know people were kind of upset she had a Chica match on pay per view, but for actual
I
viewers, that was
truthfully,
perfect.
I think that she's probably booking herself now.
Probably.
Like, because 'cause I'm thinking about it, it's like, yeah, there was such a distinct change. I think it's because Rossi books the red belt and nobody is able to get their claws on the book for the red belt. I think when she lost it, Utami's like, "Okay, so can I work Chica? We work in the dojo a lot, and I like her, and I think we could do
Hmm.
something here." And I was just like, "Yeah, go ahead, I don't care." Same thing with the Shioko thing. I imagine that to some degree she's like, let's get this chick over. Like let's see what we can do here. So I,
Yeah.
I imagine that's part of it, which leads to questions about Rossi's ability to be a solo booker, because this is all like assumptions, but I have a feeling that he is aggressively hands on with the red belt more than anything,
Hmm.
and that might be why it's a problem belt. Um, or maybe he just cares so much more about booking the white belt that he just doesn't care at all about the red belt. I don't know. But then I feel like Utami's run would have been good
Yeah.
if he didn't care. If Utami could just like kind of go wild with the red belt, I think Utami would be like, okay, let's have some fun with this. And I don't think she was really able to do that. So yeah, interesting.
Mhm.
I also am not crazy about how Utami has been booked by this company overall, but I think she's made the most of it, and I think that's kind of how she views wrestling, is for her to make the most out of what she can do. Damn, my dog disagrees. Sorry.
Mhm. Um, I don't know if I didn't hear much from this dog there. I honestly thought it was a person coming in to interrupt. Um, For more pros, we have young and progressive roster, which we've kind of touched on with some of the other bits. Improving the quality of matches is one, which I think kind of comes hand in hand with the young roster.
Hmm.
I think there's less bad matches than in year
Oh,
one
definitely.
of Marigold. I think the ceiling is a lot higher for the majority of matches. I think there's the odd great like house show match now that wouldn't have happened in the first 6 months. Um, and obviously the pay-per-views I think are stronger. I mean, even the first stream this year was like a weaker pay-per-view, but it was so much better than first stream 2025. So I think even like the lows are higher than they were.
Yeah, I have a similar pro that I was kind of get through now. Development of young talent is a big plus. Each have such different personalities and skill sets, and by putting them in important matches early on, it allows them to eventually be seen by the audience as main eventers much more easily. Which I think Sari is probably like the easiest,
Mm.
you know, indicator of that. Like I think their biggest booking win over the past like year, like calendar year, has been Sari. I know
Mhm.
Yuzuki got to the white belt, but that was like that started with the Superfly. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that started even longer ago. Whereas I feel like Sari very naturally has become ingrained in like when you talk about the best, most interesting, most like must see wrestlers in the company. Sari is that, and also I feel like they've booked to her strengths almost exclusively. I think outside of her and Shino being a tag team, I think everything they've done has been booking Sari to her strengths and her knocking it out of the park every time. So yeah, I think that's a major plus.
Definitely. Another pro, best trainees in the Joshi scene. I do think you can trust the Marigold Dojo. I think that's definitely one good thing is that, when somebody comes along, you're not expecting a bad wrestler who you're going to have to sit through. I think
Mm.
there's been a pretty set, I don't include Yuki Minami in this because she was trained by Ice Ribbon, but, pretty much everybody
She
has
got much
debuted at it.
better.
And
Like
she has, yeah.
yeah.
Um, we kind of talked about that when Marigold opened. Was you had Nanai and Fuka, and they are the people who trained the Yoshikos, the Mayus, the Arisoshikis, Saki Kashimas. You know, they have a track record, a very proven track record. I think you are seeing that carry over to Marigold, where somebody like Yuki Yamazaki is less than a year in and she's already a total Swiss Army knife of a wrestler.
Yeah.
Um, and somebody like Shino has had an impressive, and Shino kind of has grown up in the business, so she maybe doesn't count as much, but she's already a natural. So yeah, I think I wouldn't say I don't know if they have the best trainees in the JCC, and I think TJPW's dojo is insane over the past like year or two. But the fact that it's a conversation says a lot because for a long time, actually, it was kind of held against Rossi. I don't know if you remember, but it used to be like, oh, Stardom has bad trainees and they sign good wrestlers. Like that was a thing
Yeah.
for a while online, was that Rossi doesn't produce good trainees. So I think that narrative changing with Marigold is good.
Yeah, to be fair, I think all of his trainers left.
It's
All
multiple
of his
times.
good trainers, multiple
Yeah.
times, yeah. So, it was pretty rough there for a while. And also, they just weren't hiring people. But yeah, no, I definitely agree that I think that's whereas we have a high level of trainee production recently because I think
Mm,
Seedling does not get enough credit for all of their trainees
yes.
being maybe not all of them being great yet, but I mean, three of them are great. Uh, I haven't seen much of the fourth one, unfortunately.
She just debuted.
Yeah,
It's the
I
tall
saw
one?
her versus Rio. Yeah, I saw
Yeah, yeah.
her and Aniki.
She had
It
one
was good.
match.
Oh, she hasn't had a match since then. Okay, never
I
mind. I'm chill.
don't think so. I think that was her only
Uh,
match.
yeah, that's the only one I've seen. So yeah, I'm chill then. But yeah, so I think Seedling as well. I think, like you said, TGPW has a good track record recently. Um, I was about to call him Gaia, Marvelous. Uh, is post Hosan, who I think is also good, but post
Mhm.
Hosan is at a very strong uh
Yeah, I mean, they got Sora. Mm.
list of wrestlers. That's so funny that you said Sora and not
Well,
Senka.
I feel like everybody praises Senka, but nobody like recognizes that Sora is also very good.
Yeah, I think Senka's better is the problem. I
Sure.
think that's the only thing that is in Sora's way. I think Sora, if Sora and Yuna from some Sendai Girls were in a company together, like a class together, they were classmates.
Mhm.
Sora would be seen as like one of the best rookies in
Yes.
Joshi. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
I
But
agree.
because she is the blue to Senka's red, it's just so hard for her.
That's fair. Cons: lack of main event people, which we kind of touched on already. Some questionable booking, which I've gone over a lot. Um, we kind of do week to week talk about some of the issues that they have. Um, and I would say that sometimes I think they would do better at Corkin if their booking was better. So I would agree that one of the cons, some of the stuff is questionable. Some of the stories are a little bit threadbare. Sometimes you're like, what is the end goal here? Um, and I think that is an issue for them, kind of month to month. I don't
Oh,
know how you
definitely.
feel about it.
I always, call back to the Twin Star Cup as just like
Mm,
a complete miss. It's like a good, competitor company that like is like trying to be great does not miss there. Like that's such a easy thing to do is a
yeah.
one night tag tournament. And they still just found a way to just kind of make it as like bland and forgettable as possible. Um so yeah, I think there are definitely just like overall just like why would you do that? Like there are definitely things like that they have done. Um I think we'll see. We're only a couple years in, but I think uh, seeing Rossi choose the wrong person is always going to be frustrating.
Hmm.
Um, I would have given the 7 match series to literally anybody except for Shioko. Uh, but also he has faith in her, so I have at least a little bit of faith in her because I don't think she is the wrong person as much as I think she isn't the right person, so to speak. But I imagine that could get more egregious down the line once he finds the second coming of Unagi Sayaka. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Where it's going to be like, why are we doing all of this for her? That seems a bit unnecessary.
Okay,
Like
I
I
agree.
think we're going to get
Well,
to
I don't
that.
agree, but I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
But yeah, I think, like I said, I think the Twin Star Cup is such a obvious example of like, if you are a serious company, you don't fuck that up
Hmm.
the way you did. Like, it just like, I don't know how you even arrive at that. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. So they need to be running a better ship in that regard with booking
Yeah.
sometimes, you know.
Okay. Another con, lots of injuries. I think that's an interesting one
Yeah.
because I almost like you can't really control injuries, and it's kind of the nature of the beast in modern sports.
Yes.
Um, and like Stardom has a lot of injuries, for their roster. I think when you wrestle a fairly athletic style, you are opening yourself up to that sort of stuff. Like AEW gets a lot of injuries because their style is very, you go back and forth, you have a 50-50 match, you do lots of spots, you take a lot of bumps. That sort of stuff can kind of wear on you. Um, like I'm not sure what more they could do to minimize it without just bloating the roster and running like 5-on-5s where you get less ring time. I kind of get it, but I also don't know how you change that. Like that's just kind of a fate thing almost.
Yeah, it's hard. I guess people just need to go to Nanai's personal training more,
Mm,
which Koki is, and that's the important one. So,
okay.
yeah.
Um, so pro booking is fairly consistent, and most talent are booked to their strengths. We've kind of touched on the consistent part already. Um, I would say I wouldn't agree on that people are booked to their strengths. Honestly, I think some people are square pegs and round holes. I think, heel Matsui is a big one. Now not really doing much is one. Utami was mischaracterized for a long time there. I think Miku Aono is currently being mischaracterized. Like, I think there's
What would you?
actually a
Yeah, we've talked about before.
like I think there's a lot of wrestlers in Marigold where I think there's a lot more to squeeze out of them that there's not being squozed, you know?
Disclosed.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I'm a bit back and forth on that because, like I said, I think there are wrestlers. I think Sari Yamaoka is certainly booked to her strengths. Um, I don't see it with Misa Matsui. Like, I don't see the problem as much as you do because in when it counts, she's still great. I think like she's not getting better on house shows because she doesn't view them as important. Um, and that's a problem, right? And when you're a babyface, you kind of are more. It's more intuitive to view everything as a bit more important. But as a heel, you're supposed to be a bit more apathetic, and it could bleed into just like how you actually wrestle. Um, it's easier to rest on your laurels as a heel. That's always been a frustrating thing for me. So I guess I get it. It's kind of Starlight Kid esque. Like I don't have a problem with Matsui, but I did have a problem with Starlight Kid. I'm sure
Yeah.
people who also had problems with Starlight Kid probably have a similar problem with Matsui, especially if they've been watching Matsui for a long time. I think that's probably a part of it as well. I wasn't watching
Yeah, no,
actress
I've seen her
Matsui
enough
that
in
much.
Actress that I was a bit
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
I think it's a probably a similar animal with like why is Starlight Kid a heel?
Mhm.
She's so much better at being like the baby face who comes back. Like Matsui's are also better at that. Like from what I've seen, she's also better at that. So I get it, but um yeah, I don't know. I think booking to their strengths is an interesting conversation because some of them definitely are. Like I think Gochika is booked pretty perfectly.
Mm,
You know what I mean? Like I think she's one of the most interestingly booked giants in wrestling because it's like I have a problem with the way Lady C's booked because she never feels like a giant because she seems so incapable that she's just a very good. I compare her to Yoshihashi, who's like 5'8". You know what I mean? Like that's the vibe that she gives off. Whereas Jika Goto, even though she's also a loser, she also loses plenty. She feels like a giant. She
mm.
feels big. She feels like she can, do a lot of damage. It's just sometimes she gets outsmarted or made to, whatever. I think generally I would agree with the sentiment that wrestlers are booked better to their strengths than elsewhere, and than they used to be, even in Marigold. But I also agree with you that there are areas where it's like, yeah, but you know, I mean, I've been saying it a bunch. I think Shino is an example of like get her away from Sari. I think they're making a bad idea. They're doing a bad.
Mhm.
I feel like it's a bad decision to have Shino and Sari always either wrestling tagging with each other or wrestling against each other. I feel like you need Shino separate from Sari because Sari is growing so exponentially that it's just going to keep making Shino look bad and Sari trying to like, slow down for Sheena was going to make Sari look bad. So I think, like there are instances of that for sure.
Okay. Another pro, kind of one that we've already touched on, is that the roster isn't bloated, so that you don't have 8+ multi-person matches.
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of touched on it's harder to get lost in
Nobody could really
Marigold.
like rest on their laurels in tag matches.
Yeah,
Unless it's like pretty like purposeful. Like I think Koki's was easing back into tag matches for the last few months since she came back, but I think like even her over the past couple matches I've seen her in has been a bit more active in them. So it's a lot harder to just kind of like sit back and not tag in. Whereas I always call back to that one point when Koguma literally didn't tag into a Stars match a
yeah.
couple years ago. Like, it was like a 12-minute Stars match. She just didn't tag in. She didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
I'm
agree.
happy there's not that.
Con triple threat matches in Marigold are ass, which
Yes.
is weird because early on they had a solid formula for them. They would put the faster wrestlers in and just kind of let them go sequence for sequence, kind of.
Yeah, but at some point they decided that their faster wrestler was just Hummingbird, who's bad at triple threat matches.
Yeah,
Like
and
that is
now
the
it's a lot
problem.
of like you have a slow wrestler, a comedy wrestler, and somebody
Yeah.
else, and it doesn't work. So yeah, I agree. Like they had a solid platform for those triple threat matches, and then kind of slowly went away from them for unknown reasons. Um, did you have another one from messages or
No, no.
no? Okay, well, I'll go to the ones I got on Discord.
Uh,
We should be able to wrap up soon. I think there's a lot of stuff that was,
already
um,
gone through.
yeah, pretty much. So let's see. I'll have to go back. I got chatty with everybody, you know. Um, yeah. So pros, they've integrated the rookies pretty well. Like they're pushing Komomo, Nagisa is moving up, and it's cool to see Shino with Seri. Yuka gets decent spots. Rhea is up and down, but she's at least getting into some more cool spots. And it sucks that Minami got hurt. And yeah, we kind of went over that. The rookies are kind of a core part of what makes the promotion stand out. Um, Cons, where is Mio versus Mayu? Ask
Good
Nagayo.
fucking point.
Ask
That's
Nagayo.
just annoying me so much. Ugh.
This is an interesting one. I think often a lot of people are in the right sort of spot, but the idea and execution can be off. And sometimes the quality isn't there. I think maybe the biggest example of that is Miko Ono currently. Is
Mhm.
like, yes, her being the world champion who turns away challengers is a great spot for her and how she wrestles. And then the execution is consistently like really weird. Because I don't like we didn't get to talk about it, but after the Chiaki match, she was like, actually, Chiaki's cool and I respect her and her determination. And you're like, what?
Well,
What
I
the
don't
fuck?
think that's
Like,
fair. I don't think that's fair. I think it was very that was a hard ask of her because in the same breath she had to be like Chiaki is not worthy of challenging for this belt, but she also had to like be like but it was cool how she fucking took the beating and cut her hair and really
mm,
brought the fight to
I
me.
don't know.
But also she isn't worthy and I need better opponents. But also she wasn't bad. Like cuz it's like you don't want to bury the wrestler that you
But
just
that's
had like a
exactly what it
competitive
is. The
match with.
execution and idea is just a little bit off.
That's fair. I think I
Um,
think I think I can agree with that. Um but also yeah, I could agree with that.
okay.
That was a bit strange. Like I
Yeah.
get like I don't think that the execution was strange as much as the idea was off for that.
Hmm.
Like I don't
Yeah.
know how she would have made it work otherwise, which is why you probably should change it. I don't know. But also that's just hair versus hair. I think hair versus hair is different. I mean, Julia and
Yeah.
Tam were buddies for the duration of their 5 minute hair versus hair segment. You know what I mean? Like they like had more mutual respect than they did the entirety of the rest of their feud. So, you know, like that's kind of natural.
Um, The next one is a con, and it's kind of long. So the biggest issue with Marigold is more often than not, Rossi has a clear plan for specific big matches, sets them up, but in his mind, the regular tour shows in between don't matter. So outside of your standard preview tags, they advance absolutely nothing. So the majority of stuff that happens between Corkins does not matter or barely matters at all. And we end up a week before Corkin Hall without really knowing much for what is about to happen on said show. Recent examples are Chiaki Miku and Victoria Gochka. You also have Miku Gochka, where they had a clear story, then were just half-assed from the original points until the next pay-per-view. I find it lazy and gives me zero reason to tune in to any of the tour shows, including a lot of the Face and Osaka events, which are and should be seen as more important by Rossi, but often aren't.
I know who said
And
that one, and I disagree.
I
I
see.
I think
I feel
I think
like
outside of the Chiaki Miku one, the examples, were wrong. Like, I watched every preview match
I think
for
Victoria
Miku and
Gochka also kind of was a little bit poorly told.
I
Like,
just
for 6 weeks,
poorly
he
told.
was like, "What do you
Okay,
mean? What do you mean you're challenging?" Ah, and that was it. And then she was like, "Okay, fine, you get a title match." Then it was
again,
like,
yeah,
"Really?"
no, that's fair. Okay, I think it felt non-committal was the problem. I feel like there's a different problem than what was identified here. I think the problem is that he has a match he wants to do, he doesn't know when. I don't know if
See,
he's ever known when he wants to run any match outside of like, like, oh, I want to do, Utami versus, well, no, not even Utami. No, I want to do my Sakurai versus Miku at first stream. Like that
mhm,
he had planned from probably before Miku won the belt. You know what I
yeah.
mean? Like that probably was in place. But with like a Yuzuki Gochika, he's like, should I wait? No. And then eventually it's just like, oh, let's just do it as the next Cork and whatever. Like, so I think he's a bad promoter. And I've said this before.
See, I feel like part of this touches on what I've said since they announced the schedule for this year. I just don't think he can book to 4 pay-per-views and however many Corkins and still have the face shows feeling important. I think you've seen the face shows go from, okay, this is worth noting because we're gonna set stuff up. Like the face shows used to be, here we're gonna learn what's going on. And now they just kind of happen and they pass and nobody's any more the wiser. I think
Mm,
he used to be better at spreading stuff out to lead up to Corkins and pay-per-views. But
yeah.
as of now, he's kind of just going, I just want to get pay-per-view to pay-per-view and Cork and I'll fill as I go along. And I do think the lower shows are kind of suffering because nothing really advances on them in a notable way. Like the Chiaki Aono thing, you didn't need to watch the house shows to learn anything.
And that's
And
the
I
one
think
place
that
where
was the
I
perfect time to do it.
think that's the one like that's that I agree with that. I think again, I think the angles that he brought up or that they brought up, I apologize. Um I didn't really have a problem with outside of the lack of commitment to a date. So you kept expecting more developments on the house shows and they never came. Until
Mhm.
one day they were like, "Okay, here's the date." Like they developed it more on Twitter where they were just kind of like bickering back and forth because they didn't have a date yet. Um and so yeah, I agree that there's a problem with like this sense of like a lack of commitment sometimes, and it does work to the detriment of a house show occasionally, or of the house shows occasionally. But I also, I don't know, but part of me, and I mean, I guess you could look at the lack of commitment as like the problem with the Gochika Miku thing, right? Is that it's like it seemed like they weren't sure if they wanted that to be a title match,
Mhm.
and then eventually they were just like, I don't think we need to make it a title match. Let's not make it a title match. And then they just, day of were like, yeah, it's not a title match because Gochika was still campaigning for it to be a title match in character
Yeah.
up until like 5 minutes before it happened. Um, So I feel like there is like this lack of commitment to a lot of the stories they tell that becomes frustrating. But I wouldn't say that it makes it like I don't think that the house shows are completely useless, or that the Shinjuku Face shows certainly I don't think are completely useless. I think a lot of that is that we are coming out of the winter, and that just kind of happens. Like I don't even think it's a scheduling problem. I mean, last year I feel like there was a similar problem in terms of like, so what's next, guys? What are you going to do next? Please tell me. 'Cause I don't
Mhm.
feel like anything's happening next. At least now they're like, here's what's next. We just don't know when, and don't ask us. It's like, I would, dude, come on. I don't know which version I like better. So yeah, I can see the problem. But I wouldn't say I agree with like, oh, the house shows don't matter because it's like
I think the
things
face shows have
still
mattered
develop.
less and less, which is a bit of an issue. I think that's what I would say. I know Saka has kind of been completely thrown aside since the Magenta win, which they were forced into because Nanai was retiring.
Yeah,
Um,
the next big one. Yeah,
so I think that's maybe the bigger point is like obviously nothing's going to happen in Hachioji, but maybe stuff should be happening in Shijuku Face to set up the Korakuens a bit better, like they were initially.
yeah,
But
sure.
we do have more stuff to get to, so we won't dilly
Oh
on that
wow.
one. Uh, Pros, we kind of did this one already. Rookies do feel, for the most part, to be doing something outside of just normal losses. We've kind of touched on the rookie stuff. That's come up a good bit. That seems to be generally one of people's favorite things about Marigold. And this is one you'll agree with. The lack of rigid factions feels like you can experiment with a lot more pairings.
Yeah,
You've kind of said that every time I want factions as you push back because
I
want
love the idea that my Sakurai is currently in two factions, has three tag teams, and is also one of the top wrestlers in the company. You know, what I mean,
mm,
like I love that. I think that's great. I love the fact that we get Utami and Mai, who are like friends in real life. Sometimes there's like, yeah, let's just tag together, and they're a seamless tag part. You know, a seamless tag team. I love that Supers and Levy and Rose, or yeah, Supers and Levy and Rose are like both a thing. I love that. I think it does allow you to experiment a bit more. It allows you to develop relationships a lot easier. Um, I think that's become kind of a problem elsewhere in Japan, where it's like, why does Miyu Amasaki and anybody care about the other? You know, like why is Miyu Amasaki and who's a example? Like Miyu Amasaki and Hanan. They have absolutely nothing in common. They could have tagged at some point. I'm sure they would have worked well together. They both kind of like the more, the grapple stuff. Could have worked well together. They could have, just like kind of breeded like a rivalry just like I feel like just kind of throwing shit at the board with your teams and with your alignments makes it a lot more interesting sometimes.
mm.
I really like it. Uh and obviously like
See,
as an Utami fan, I think that Utami is the biggest beneficiary of that because she works well with so many different partners. She thrives when she's with a completely new partner and she has to find a tag move to do. Like her and Chanyota rule. That would never happen. You know what I mean? Like that's just not a team that would have made sense if they made factions by now.
see, I agree, but I feel like Rossi would need the factions. I think storytelling would be much better in the promotion with them. I feel like the wrestlers would have more leeway to kind of go, "Oh, I don't like you because you're in a different group," and it would add some sort of spice to a lot of the matches, and it would help people be stronger characters if they had factions. Like I agree, the lack of rigid factions does make it more interesting for like random pairings and house show stuff, but I feel like they lose just a little bit in the storytelling department that I can't overlook. That's kind of my issue with
Mm.
the lack of factions.
I suppose I can see it. Like I don't think you're wrong, but I also think like, oh, let's replace you know a lack of stories with one note kind of just annoying stories. I'm chill. I'm good with y'all just kind of having good matches that, eventually will lead to a competent story than very boring and annoying stories happening just because they are stories. Like I don't think that's very natural in wrestling. Like I like in this in at this point with the way wrestling works now, the way touring works now, the way that these, you know, shows kind of happen. I would I would much rather not do Suzu wanting to turn on Maysera for 2 months because she hit her one time, but them having to keep kind of like, like, oh, we gotta kind of wait because it's gonna blow up eventually. Like I feel like every company does that. You know what I mean? Like it's gotten kind of frustrating. To the point where it's like I love how big Hantai is in New Japan. Like I love that most wrestlers are just in the main unit, and the main unit has their own problems with each other, but they all, are generally like, yeah, we're good guys. We'll fucking whatever. We'll tag if we need to. But you know, I don't get along with you for like a personal reason, not because I'm Chaos and you're Suzuki-gun. Like, uh, I think that is beneficial to wrestling now. I think the meta is changing personally. Like, I think you can see that in Stardom. This isn't a Marigold thing. I think you can see that the meta is changing. But Stardom doesn't want to have factions. They just feel the need to because of marketing and branding and position, like hierarchy makes things easier. But they don't want to do that. It doesn't help their product very much outside of hate. But Marigold has Darkness Revolution. If they really wanted to hate, they could just make hate out of that. That's my thinking. I think the meta of fixed factions is dying, and I don't think it works as well. I don't think it works as well in 2016 as it did 10 years ago.
Okay. I disagree, but we've been going so long, I don't want to push back on you
Mhm.
that much because the next one, um, if my phone would allow me to bring it up. Um, oh gosh, come on. What are you doing here? Sorry, my phone is just like, mm, okay. There does not feel like there is a mid or long term plan in place for almost anything. Um, or at least so stuff that the rosters is privy to. It felt hidden by Utami being more nonplussed about being a top champion, but I think a chunk of the problems with Miku's reign so far, like the prove yourself gimmick and the shouting out outsiders, is to try and fill time or even just her trying to make angles happen. I would say that the problem is that Rossi is too obsessed with long and midterm planning. Um, he definitely knows who is main eventing the Sumo Hall show in 2027 already. He knows who is winning the belt from Miku. His issue is he doesn't seem to think about how to get there as much as he used to. And I think this is just a problem with
Your Windows is alerting you of something, just so you know.
yeah, so I've noticed. I think this is just a problem of the pay-per-view to pay-per-view booking that we're seeing now. Like he doesn't book month to month anymore. He books pay-per-view to pay-per-view. And so he's thinking of his big gate at Ota Ward and not getting 200 more people at Corrigan. I think that's kind of what it is, more so than anything. I think there
Hmm.
is a medium to long term plan. I think there's less in the way of short term.
I do think that for whatever reason, it seems like Rossi does give wrestlers less insight now in Marigold, than he once did. Because, like, truthfully, I don't think Mirai would have left if she knew what the world knew, and that's that she was beating Miku for the red belt. Like, I think if he told her outright, like, dude, I'm gonna give you the belt, just calm down, she would have stayed. You know what I mean? So that was one kind of like tip off that's like I don't think they know anything. Like I think there is a active lack of communication uh between like Miku and Rossi of what Miku is supposed to be building to. And that's also why she brought up the outsiders, none of which he will be able to get um outside of maybe Iwata, but I doubt that. Like I think that's why it's like that. Not because Rossi doesn't have a long-term plan, it's because the wrestlers don't know the long-term plan and don't think he has a short-term plan. I don't think he has a short-term plan. I think there isn't a short-term plan. So they're trying to make something and hopefully he likes it and hopefully he's like, "Yeah, I'll book towards that." But he doesn't half the time. You know what I mean? I think maybe part of this is just like a lack of a long-term relationship, I guess. Cuz it's like but then again, Utami had the same problem. Yeah, I don't know. It's a problem. I think it's definitely a problem. I think, like you said, they are misattributing the problem. I don't think it's that he doesn't know what he's doing down the line. I think he's like, okay, so Sari's going to win the red belt at the end of the year. Hopefully, she gets there. And it's like, well, you should probably. Sari's a bad example because I think he books her very well, but still, you get my point. That's like, hopefully, she gets there. It's like you should probably like, you know, be a bit more full, in the moment about these things
Mm.
and figuring out how you're going to put the puzzle pieces forward, going, in the next moving forward from here. But this is all kind of theoretical, I guess, because yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's a different problem than what I do think he's very much EWRing it, where it's like I knew what my June show and my December show were gonna be, and I was in like January, and I was like, fuck,
Mhm.
I have a February show. I have no fucking idea what's going on there. And then somebody leaves or somebody gets hurt, and I'm just fucked. My entire year's fucked, and I get mad. I'd stop playing. But he can't stop
Yeah,
playing. All of his savings are riding on this. Good
that's
luck.
true. Um, so this might be controversial. Outside of the Misa defense, Yuzuki's United National reign feels a bit more like a junior belt reign to hide the fact they have a very anemic mid card. Um,
That's such a funny. That's wild. Outside of the Misa title run match?
I feel like the Yuzuki thing is completely by design to like give because he trusts Yuzuki to have great
Mm,
matches, so he's giving her wrestlers who are maybe less proven, like Syoko and Rhea in a
yeah.
single setting and Gochika in a single setting. I feel like that's by design, the Yuzuki thing.
So by
Um,
junior, I'm guessing they mean like Sendai Junior, not IWGP Junior.
maybe, yeah.
Because like I think the goal is for a belt to be as like dope as like the high end of IWGP Junior. Not right now. Don't get me wrong, not right now. But like, yeah, if you have a belt on Yuzuki, you should want it to be in the vein of like a top Puro Junior title. Like that makes sense. Because those are pretty undefined, but they're usually really cool. Um, outside of Misa,
I don't has she had any other defenses other than those four?
she said Misa, Rhea, Gochka,
Yeah,
Shioko.
that's all, isn't it?
Rhea was her first one, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
I
I guess
feel
that's
like it's by design, to be honest.
yeah,
I
that's
think
definitely
that's
the point.
oof,
I
my
like. I
neck.
mean, we've talked about this a million times in the during this Marigold Town Hall. Is that like somebody said? I mean, like 35% of the roster has less than 2 years of experience. Every belt is going to be a junior belt.
Mm,
Like every most of the matches in Marigold would qualify for the future Stardom Championship to be on the line. Maybe not most matches because that becomes a exponent or whatever. But you get my point. Like there are
mhm.
plenty of matches that would, you know, I think a better notion is that like, um, pick any four random wrestlers on Marigold's roster, you could probably make a new blood tag title match out of it.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
it's you just can't. So I think that's like just not fair, frankly. Like because Gochika is the mid card. Like
Mm.
she
Yeah, I
she's
think it's
not.
maybe it's just that it's less IWGP Intercontinental title. Maybe that's what it is, but I don't
Yeah, but I
see
don't think
that
that's.
as the United National. I don't really think that's what it is. It's always, to me, more of an open, floating kind of title,
Yeah,
which is
and
for
I
the
think I
better.
think Tam said it. You paint the white belt in your colors. It's white for
Mm,
a reason. There, it has no color. It is what you make of it. And I think Tam said a lot of random bullshit in her Twitter threads, but I think that's a great
that one
point.
was heat, yeah.
Yeah, that one rules. Like a white belt is one that you put your own color onto. And I think Yuzuki is a IWGP Junior champion. Like that is who she is. That is what she wrestles.
That's
That
true.
is what she wants to be. She wants to be Ricochet. She wants to be Hiromu. I hate to say it. She wants to be Will Ospreay. I think she is better than falling into the same trappings that Osprey falls into. She sometimes does, but that's besides the point. But point being is that I think that's her style. So if you're talking about that, then like I think that's by design purely.
No,
And
I
if you're
don't
talking
think
about
that's what
like
it meant.
if you're talking about like, oh, it's a bunch of rookies, it's like that's that's the class, man. Like that. These are Yuzuki's
Mm,
peers. Like nobody I have felt is far below Yuzuki. I would love it if she wrestled people who were further below her. Give me her versus Yuka. Like
yeah, I
I
agree.
would. I think it should be more of a future belt than it is in that case. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, I don't mind. I don't think it's. I think that's a kind of a silly one in my opinion. No
Okay.
offense, but
Um, Pros: the booking of Victoria Yuzuki. Her rise to main event status has been one of the best booked in the Joshi scene. She was kind of put forward in the media a lot long before becoming the star that she was, and that ultimately paid off by getting to the final of the Dream Star. Um, I would agree. I think that it was pretty seamless as soon as Mariah left. They kind of just went, okay, we've been keeping Yuzuki on the burner. We're gonna have her beat Mai at Sumo Hall. I think it was very effective and has given them another kind of upper card talent.
yeah, no, I think Yuzuki's like I don't know how you could have done it much better. Because
Yeah.
yeah, she I mean, like, we've been doing this podcast for damn near 6 years now. So I can't really say like we were talking about but like it feels like fairly recently I was talking about her debut match against Momo Watanabe,
Mm,
and then talking about how she's going to be great in the next couple years if she just keeps at it, or about the Mayu match that I was like, oh, that wasn't as much as I expected it to be. It was really good, but it wasn't. And then it's like, yeah, but they're going to wrestle again probably, and now we're here. I mean, we've had like a legitimately great, all time great match between her and Mayu, and she's one of the top champions. Like, eh, very quick turnaround for her, but she got it. Like she ran with the, I feel like this is a random metaphor, but I feel like Rossi kept hitting the up button on the treadmill, and she just kept running
mm,
faster, and
yeah.
that's just been her run up until this point. Is just pressing down on that treadmill, and she keeps running with it. Like I think that's just kind of nature of the beast with Izuki. I'm very happy with what we're getting so far.
Okay.
Even though I
Um,
have my problems, like I said, like I think she has some like decision making problems in
mhm,
ring that frustrate me. I think that like just generally she's a very great like she's a natural.
okay. Um, the booking of Seria Miyoka, which is kind of something we've touched on a few times. She's been spotlighted basically since the beginning. Was given big pay per view singles matches consistently. Was paired up with Nanai Takahashi immediately. Got the win to win the Twin Star belts on her like second or third match in Korakuen.
Untanked, but
Um,
still,
yeah. So yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think
yeah,
that's pretty.
wholeheartedly.
We can all agree there. The booking of Seri has been pretty strong. And then the booking of two Sumo Hall shows so far, Summer Destiny 2024 and Grand Destiny 2025, were both major shows that they must be proud of in terms of card, match quality, and overall hype. I
I
do
agree.
think as far as like yearly big show types that he has had two strong outings at Sumo Hall. I think Grand Destiny 2025 was much better than the Summer
Mhm.
Destiny 2024.
I think that
Um,
heavily depends on how you feel about like a match or two,
yeah,
though.
but yeah, the presence of EO I think was a nice bow on
Sure.
a pretty strong show last time around. They had a lot of other
Yeah.
stuff kind of going. Um, Cons: the build towards some Corkin shows have been less than ideal, especially since
Yeah.
they seem to have realized they can put in minimal effort and still draw about 700 following the arrival of Mayu Tani. And I think that comes back to something we've talked about already is he's booking to pay-per-views now. He's not necessarily booking to Corkins. And I feel like he's so concerned with how he's going to fill Ota Ward that he's not thinking as much about how he's going to fill Corkin.
Yeah. Which is kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, if you're gonna do that, I think you need somebody that like is a designated Corkin guy. Like
Yeah.
like a booker. You have to have somebody who cares about the little things. Um,
Yeah.
I feel like every sports league has that to some degree. It's like,
Mm.
I mean, well, not every sport, but like I look at it, it's like in football, in American football, you have a
Dylan,
the,
I love you and all, but please do not talk about American football.
point
2 hour and
being
a
you
half
have
hours
you have
in.
a you have a running backs coach, you have an offensive coach, you have a head coach, then you have a president. Like you have so many people that like, and then you have a fucking quality control coach. You have so many things. I feel like with a booking team, you can't just rely on just Rossi. I feel like
Yeah.
we're that's where I'm getting to with Marigold booking
Okay.
is you need more people in the room if there aren't any already.
Because the next con is that there haven't been enough meaningful or compelling storylines in the undercard, which kind of, I think, carries on from that. Is that he's so focused on the big title
Top
matches
4
that he,
the top 3 matches at the next
yeah,
3 pay-per-views that, like yeah.
like he hasn't put any storylines for Nash Cow. He hasn't done a storyline for Hummingbird. He hasn't done a storyline for Yuki Minami or Nagisa Tachibana. So they've kind of tried at times to shoot their own angles, but as far as like meaningful, you know, wrestler who isn't going to win a belt anytime soon, there's nothing there that pays off anything for them, you know. So I would agree with that. I think that the undercard is kind of just wrestlers having matches when it could be so much more.
I agree, I agree.
Um, Last one then. Um, Pros, the hierarchy is very well established. You know who the booker cares about and who he doesn't. And I think that's kind of goes back to something we talked about earlier with he's very predictable and he's very sensible in that yes, you don't just beat Utami, but when you do beat Utami, it means something, and you know who the stars are because they don't lose random matches at will. So I think that is definitely a
He's
good
been
thing
more
to have.
aggressive about that. Remember when we thought that Koki was gonna get, like, a or no, she did. They did they draw her, like, double count out
I
or
think the count out, yeah.
oh, Koki won with the count out, that's what it was. I expected her to, like, get, like, a crazy, just, like, somehow figure it out to, like, roll her up, but even then, it's like, it's way more conservative about the people he cares about these days
hmm
than it used
Um,
to.
Similar one to a one we've talked about, promising rookies are managed very well, given big spots and made to feel important without going all in on them too soon, which has kind of been a common pro among the people. And the Marvelous rivalry was excellent and gave impetus to the whole roster, who suddenly felt like they had something to prove, especially for those in the mid card who often struggled to assert themselves.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, I feel like somebody like Hummingbird could do with the World of Good feuding with Ihozan or something, and
Oh, yeah.
I kind of don't
I
understand
mean,
why we're not getting more of it.
look at how much, we got out of Komo Minami not wrestling in that gauntlet and being
Mm,
like, "I just beat Marvelous, bitch. The fuck? Get the fuck out of here." Like, that was awesome. That was great.
yeah.
Give me that.
Cons, things can move very slowly outside of GP season. Monthly Corkins should have at least one must see match between two stars, but often don't, which causes things to feel very cold during the long waits between big shows. Again, it's something that's been touched on by a few of the people. It's just that, you know, it feels like you're waiting for the pay per views as opposed to Corkins, and the narratives between them aren't as strong, which I think is correct. Giving the vibe that the promotion is one big happy family can make things feel heatless at times. It feels like most of the roster has way more friends, tag partners than they do rivals. Friendly rivalry can be great too, but we need more of the other side of the coin. This is something I tweet about the other day, actually, because I do
This is
think,
something you're always bitching about, brother.
like, you know, the Miku promo I just talked about with Chiaki, it felt like she was like, me and Chiaki had a great match, and Marigold has great matches. I'm like, you should be calling her a bitch. You should be saying she fucking stinks. And I feel like people in Marigold are almost too afraid to be like, you suck. I'm the best in the company. I am the one, I am the world champion. Because everybody has to feel like they have to elevate the brand and
Yeah,
elevate themselves.
I feel like the company's too fragile. I think
It
that's the
is.
problem.
I feel
I
like
think
they're
that
like, you know,
by
Momo Watanabe. Momo at her
yes, I know
prime was
Momo
like,
Watanabe.
"You should piss yourself and cry, you fucking loser." Nobody's doing that.
That's because nobody felt that way about Hazuki. Like, Momo could talk to Hazuki that way because nobody believed it. Everybody was like, "Okay, Momo feels that way, but Hazuki's really cool, and she could beat her next month for all we know." You can't say that to Chiaki because people will just be like, "Yeah, Chiaki fucking sucks." Yeah, you're right, bro. Like, that is the nature of pro wrestling is that it's like, how do you make your opponent somebody worthy of beating, and then worthy of beating again 2 months down the line? And that's the problem is that it's like we haven't established people well enough. Like Miku, like look at the Kojika thing. Her beating Gochika and then calling her a loser and being like, get better. I don't know what else to tell you. Like that hurt Gochika because it's like, damn, she is a loser. Damn, she
Mm.
isn't on her level. Damn, like like
Yeah.
that can have that appeal. But Gochika is even more protected than most wrestlers. She has more crowd protection. I mean, like you believe in Gochika. Like fans believe in her. I don't think everybody like I don't know. I think I get the point. Like I get the problem with, the one big happy family thing. Um, but I also think that I have fought with my family much harder than I've ever fought with anybody outside of my family in my life. So I don't think that's a problem. Like I think you could make that
All right,
work.
Paige.
Huh?
Fighting with my family. Paige movie.
Fuck you. No, but you get my point. That it's like you can make that produce something that is even better than like, oh, I don't like you, I don't like you, and just like kind of like a um meaningless but like present rivalry. Uh, you can make it mean more if you tag with that person,
Mm,
and
I
you
don't know.
have something there between you. Um, I don't know. I get the point, and I do think that like that is a problem. Uh, that, like Yuki Yamazaki doesn't have any real rivals of her.
Yeah.
Like she has Nozaki, like I think, but that's a one-sided. Like,
Hmm.
there isn't, and I guess, I could see that being an annoyance and that being a problem, but it's also hard to kind of it's hard to kind of fix, I guess. Because
Mm.
I don't know. I guess you can make factions, and that's like natural. Like, faction
That's what I was
wise.
thinking because
Faction
when
wise, number 5 is automatically gonna be rivalry with faction Z's number 5, but
yes, but also
it
they had ideological differences in
yeah,
like 2018, right? Like Queen's Quest had their vision of wrestling, Oedo Tai had theirs, Stars had theirs, Jan had theirs, and made for very easy hatred between the groups. And I
mhm,
think that sort of stuff is also missing in current Marigold. I don't see an
sure,
ideological
yeah.
difference that's causing problems. It's almost just like
Outside
everybody's
of
like, I want
Chiaki,
Marigold to be the
it's
bestest.
it's pretty much just Chiaki.
Yeah. So I agree with
Uh,
that as a con.
yeah. No, I
I
get
don't
that.
think there's enough hatred going around. And the last one is Rossi's just a bit old, stuck in his ways, and his instincts aren't what they once were. It's kind of worrying when you have things like the Utami versus Takumi match, where the vast majority of the fan base can see that it would go super long and end in a draw, and somehow he had a worse finish than the TLD people had predicted. But Rossi still went on to praise it as an all-time classic. Um,
I did too,
yeah,
to be fair, but
I mean, I
yeah.
feel like that was. I really feel like that match was just uh voter bait. Like they wanted match of the year votes. But I do think that he is stuck in his ways and his instincts aren't as on point. I think
Yes.
you can kind of see that in some instances. Like I just feel like he used to have a little bit more of a connective tissue or a oh this is hot, I'm gonna run with it kind of thing that
Finger
isn't
on the
there as
pulse.
much. Yeah. And I definitely think he's just kind of I've said a lot. I don't think he has the juice anymore. I would agree with that. I think he is currently the biggest issue with Marigold to an extent because he's kind of putting a hard ceiling on it and what it can be. Um, but I don't know how much of that is him losing touch and how much is just that the business has changed and he has to book to pay per views now. You know what I mean? Like I bring this up a lot, but it is a different world. It is a different industry. You're no longer going month to month at Cork, and
Yeah.
nobody really is. Even TJPW isn't. When was the last time the Princess of Princess title changed hands outside of one of the Princess arena shows? You know what I mean? Um, so I think to an extent, maybe that's what it is. But yeah, I think some of those decisions, like the do time it's me thing, was a bit silly, and also I think him not capitalizing fully on the Marvelous feud was maybe bad instincts as well because he kind of let it lapse. Then it was just Magenta, and it was just Senka, and it was never really like the full on warfare again. And I think he just let that fizzle out a bit too quickly, whereas the old Rossi probably would have leaned into it a lot more.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think that there are things that he just kind of like just escapes him. That's why I said, I kind of already went through this about I think that there needs to be more quality control beyond Rossi.
Hmm.
Just, from making these Korokens matter. Yeah, like I don't think it's that big of a deal to draw 30 less people in Shinjuku Face, because you didn't go all out. Like I don't think that matters that much. You run Shinjuku Face because it's inexpensive and in a premier location. That it's not because you're making a shit ton of money by selling 20 extra tickets. Like I don't think that matters, but there needs to be more quality control on the Korakuens, and I just don't think he has that in him. Um, yeah, I do think his fastball is much slower, which I think is just kind of he's much more hesitant. He's there are problems here, and no disrespect, but I question if like if Sonny is the guy that's gonna help him here. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that's a that might be a bit of the blind leading the blind sort of thing. Because if you do look at like who might be helping him book these things, there aren't that many visual people. I guess Oki probably, and some of the I guess Mayu and Utami might have a say every once in a while. But I feel like yeah, there is just an issue of Rossi losing his fastball. I think that comes out in aggressive ways sometimes, but sometimes it's just like kind of passive ways, I guess. And you got to hope for more passivity than, you know, aggressive. So that there aren't weeks where I'm just screaming. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I
But
getcha.
yeah.
All right. That was a long one. I did not
Yeah.
expect that.
Problem was the
Um,
Cinderella fucking graphic came out 12 hours ago.
okay.
I probably wouldn't have
Yeah.
released a tweet if the Cinderella graphic came out 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Because then I'd be like, we have enough. If you got a few, and whatever. But we wanted to it's a town hall. We wanted to get everybody included.
Yeah.
So
I just kind of
thanks
hope
for the
this can get uploaded now because I know we have a
inshallah.
rate limit, but I'll see what I can do. But with
Mhm.
that, it is late. We've been all going almost 3 hours. I'm tired.
Hungry. Yeah.
If you want to stand, you may stand. If you want to sit, you may sit. Believe today, shine tomorrow. You decide what you believe in.
Shine forever. Marigold. Wait, no.
Whoa.
Marigold Quest startup. Woo. Ijo.
He's Joe.
I'm tired, man.